What's up, guys? Welcome to SpawnCast. It's another Saturday night, and I have a couple people with me here right now, and then more than likely OJ from Player Essence will also join us. Philip is busy with some personal matters tonight, so he will not be joining us. But I do have Max, Dreamcast guy. How are you doing tonight?
Man, Tubulous, excited to talk about some cool games.
Very good, very good. And then over from there, we have Evan. How are things going, Evan?
All right, I'm missing the Internationals final round for this, so hopefully it's pretty good.
Final round for what?
Dota 2's big world tournament's going on right now.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Is that streamed over on like Steam and everything?
It's on everything. Everything has some form of the international. The big one is, of course, on Twitch and stuff. So,
okay. How many people they have watching that?
I can't even remember. I closed it all down to come over here. So,
gotcha. Hey, look at that! Right when I'm introducing people, OJ pops in. OJ, how are things going, man?
Good, man. I had to come back so I can be on the cast for you guys, man. I was just at the gym and my car had to fix my car today, so a lot of stuff going on, but I wanted to make it, man. So thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, it was good timing. Like I said, we were literally just right to like Evan and about to introduce you after that, so that's good timing. Very good. Let's see. So what have we been playing this week, guys? Anything good?
I've been playing a lot of Hellblade and Lawbreakers. Hellblade's great. Lawbreakers, not so much.
Really? Yeah, Lawbreakers is interesting. It apparently it launched with lower than expect. Like it was the numbers that it launched at were lower than Battleborn's.
Yeah, abysmally low. 25% the size. Apparently 3,000 concurrent people were playing it on launch day compared to Battleborn's 12,000, and even Battleborn was considered an astronomical failure. So if you look at those guys on Twitter, they're not saying help us, but I've never seen a developer tweet out a link to buy his game on Amazon so frequently.
Wow, really? That's a thing on there.
Yeah, go look at Cliff Blazinski, and he's like, check out this sweet kill. Buy below. It's like, oh.
Oh, man.
I think maybe Cliff Blazinski's, I mean, I know a lot of people give Cliff's a lot of crap, but I think it's kind of catching up to him. All the stuff that he says on Twitter and all the things that he gets like back and forth with people. A lot of people just say, well, screw you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, a lot of people abuse Cliffy. Like they'll just say the most ridiculous things to him, but I think it might be catching up to him at this point, you know, with this game. So.
Well, and I hate to say this because I feel like it's the most insulting thing to say about a game, but it doesn't bring anything really original to the table. It just feels like low gravity Overwatch. Like literally so many of the characters are just like, well, it's got this character's grapple hook and this character's blades. We'll just shove that together and poof, it's a new character. It's like, you know, not really. It's just Overwatch remix. I feel so bad saying that.
But it's not as unique. But you're saying it's not as unique as Overwatch because each character in Overwatch is like completely different. You know?
There's no story really for the characters in Lawbreakers.
That's the thing, is that they are just as unique in that each one does play 100% differently and have different specials and stuff. My problem is that they don't have any character. They don't say anything cool. It's like literally everybody is just like a shell that occasionally goes like, oh, headshot. It's like, cool. What? Who are you? Why do you have a beard?
That's interesting. So they didn't do a good job of giving anybody backstory or having you become like attached to one character.
Yeah, like
okay.
I feel like I feel like they put more potential into paying people on Twitch and other places to play the game. I think almost a year in advance of it releasing. I remember back when I played Dirty Bomb. I think that you swung in when I was playing it again recently. There was a guy from the Steel Series group and everyone else. They all apparently got into the Lawbreakers like closed alpha. And they played it for months and months to show it off, and it just felt so much like there was money exchanged, and that's the only reason they were really there. And
this game is doing so bad. I honestly feel bad. The game is not terrible. I gave it a 7.5. Like it's good. It's fun for like a weekend. It's such a perfect rental, but it's digital only. I heard that it didn't even crack the top 100 games on Twitch, which means like literally nobody has any brand awareness. Nobody gives a crap.
It did get a physical release over on Limited Run Games for the PS4, but that was again a limited release thing.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to say the least. So do you guys think it's just going to kind of fizzle out?
Oh yeah,
I think it's going to be free to play in the next 2 months. And if it's not, because apparently that's what it was going to be originally. It was called Project Blue Streak, and then right towards the end they did some big like internal poll, and everybody was like, okay, free to play doesn't work, and they're like, oh, we were never going to do free to play. Ignore all these cosmetic skins.
Didn't they get an investor too? I'm pretty sure they got an investor too. I think Cliffy got someone to invest to help the game, so it's not free to play too.
That would make sense, because I talked to a lot of their PR people leading up to it, and I can tell they have a very big company base behind this, and now they're very much in full-blown panic mode of like, oh shit, we owe a lot of money to this investor, and we are not making it back.
You know what I've noticed with a lot of these guys that, that become big, like at Epic or become big at Call of Duty, they try to go off and they try to make their own team and they try to make a game, and it almost never works. You know what I'm saying? We've seen it before with the guy from Call of Duty. I think it was like a bowling or Rob something. Like the only time, I guess, like Respawn, I guess you can say they were successful, but it was a bunch of guys from there, when it's like the singular guy, like Clippy B, when he went off on his own, like it almost never works, man.
Well, look at Turtle Rock. Turtle Rock's such a bad example of that. Of like, yeah, we're the makers of Left 4 Dead, this absolute masterpiece, and now here's Evolve. Please play it. Oh God, play it.
Yeah, man. So I mean, it's tough though. I mean, nobody said making games was easy. Like, and especially there's so many games. I mean, the market is saturated with just tons of games. Like every single month you're getting this. I mean, people just don't have the money to buy all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then you got to pay for your internet. You got to pay for good internet, and then you got to pay for PS4, Xbox One. You got to pay for that. I mean, it's just too much at this point. I think that's also kind of a victim of that too, just money as well.
So, do you think it would have been better to be free to play and just done what everyone else is doing, which is like loot boxes and stuff?
I feel like what it needs more than anything is just character and heart.
It needs personality.
Yes, like, so I've been playing way more Splatoon 2 lately than I ever would have imagined. Like, Splatoon 2 is one of those games when I was looking forward to it, like, oh, that'll be fun for like the couple weeks I'm reviewing it, and then I'll put it down. But I keep going back to it because of the cute art style and subtle details, like the way the ink shimmers when I lay it down over my enemy's paint and stuff. Like, it feels so alive and necessary to win. Whereas when this, I could literally win 50 matches in a row, give zero shits. If it corrupted my save file, I'd be like, cool, I literally feel nothing.
That's the thing. But that's the thing about the Switch in general. You said you don't really play it as a handheld, Max?
Not unless I'm like taking care of a dog or something and I'm sitting outside like a heathen and trying to like see it with the sun glint.
Oh, see, because I'm down here usually working and stuff, and then when I'm done, I usually go upstairs. Now I'll just play. I don't really play the Switch in dock mode at all. I just treat it as a handheld, and I usually sit upstairs on like the couch or something playing a game, randomly Splatoon 2 or whatever. So just in general, the Switch, I find myself playing all these games that I wouldn't have played normally. Like Ironcast, I've been playing that a lot recently, and that's a game that I didn't really even look at on Steam 2 years ago when it came out. So it's interesting the way that works out. OJ, did you check that out, Ironcast?
No, I haven't been able to work out. I'm still working out my email situation.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I'm trying to get all my PR contacts and everything. But I should be able to get a code at some point, and if not, I'll probably pick it up. But yeah,
it's a pretty cool game. Huh? Yeah, it's a pretty cool game. We did a gameplay video for it.
I've heard about. I know some of my other guys on Twitter have been saying some good things about it. How it's kind of like addicting. It's kind of fun, once you get into the game. As far as kind of a unique mix of like puzzler and
it's like Puzzle Quest mixed with like mechs. So it's kind of fun. Yeah, it's kind of fun. It's like $12 or something. It's on Steam or the Switch, but it actually takes advantage of the Switch's touchscreen completely.
Nice. So
you don't have to use any buttons. You can technically play it without buttons if you want.
So if you just want to relax and just kind of like lie down and just have to just use your use your fingers to play. That's cool. I always like it when developers do that. Give you that option to play either way, especially with this type of game. I think it's kind of very useful with Ironcast, especially how you play it.
Yeah, dude. There's so many. Like, I'm a big fan of indie games in general because I think that's where a lot of the unique like ideas come from that other companies probably take and turn into AAA games even. And man, so did you notice how many are hitting the Switch right now? Like, I keep looking up, and there's another game either getting announced or released on the Switch.
There's a ton of like games, whether it's indie games, a ton of indie games, smaller to mid-sized games being announced. I mean, it's like every single day, it seems like there's something new. I mean, we just got an announcement with that kind of like a Super Smash Bros. Melee clone coming out, Brawl Out, which looks fantastic. I'm super excited for that.
I played an early version of that. I guess February of this year. I played the Weird Frog, and it plays a lot like Super Smash Bros. Brawl with just all unlicensed characters. It was interesting.
Yeah, there was a trailer that came out for Hollow, which is like I guess a first-person like horror type game. That looks interesting. And I don't know, it seems like every day I'm looking online on Twitter or whatever, and the developer is announcing a Switch game on there, whether they're porting it from the PC or they're just putting it out in parity with PC.
Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of which, freaking Stardew Valley blew up the internet because the freaking developer of Stardew Valley just tweeted out a picture of him with it actually running on a Switch. Just says, This is fun.
Yeah,
nice.
As somebody who's played it on PC and liked it, but I'm just not a big PC gamer, so it's one of those things where it's like I didn't really fully invest into it because I hate sitting with doing keyboard and mouse. I'm going to buy the hell out of that.
Well, that has like that game would be perfect on a handheld like the Switch.
Yeah.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect on the Switch. Yeah. A lot of these games that are being announced are great for it because you can play it it plays great in, handheld wise,
And remember, it's gonna debut co-op mode on the Switch.
Nice.
Right?
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that cool? So you can use the split Joy-Cons if you want.
I never played Stardew Valley yet, but I watched Pro Jared play it so much.
Yeah.
Like I watched him play, like he would stream it all the time. I'm like, man, this is really cool. Like if I ever got the chance, like, if it came out on like Switch or if it came out on the portable system that I can play it on, I'm totally gonna check it out. So I'm happy that it's coming out.
It's one of the most relaxing games you'll play. Like you can just kind of hang. You could lay in bed and play it, and it's like super relaxing.
That's how I play my Switch a lot of the time. Kind of just chill out lying down. So that's cool, man.
Yeah, I've probably put 30 hours into that game. I think it's good though. It's a good game. I don't think it's gonna get. I would have loved to see it get a physical release on the Switch. I thought that would be really cool. Just because I would like to have that box art like on my shelf, but still, if it comes out digitally like it's supposed to, and it runs co-op mode, that's gonna be really neat to see co-op mode.
Yeah.
So that actually make things like getting through your farm a lot faster. Because when you first get it, if it's like Harvest Moon, you spend so much time cleaning your farm.
Yeah.
It takes a while.
It makes me think because a lot of people have really kind of been begging for something to scratch that Animal Crossing collectathon itch, and I think that this is going to be that extra crazy seller that people have been looking for, where it's like that on the go, spend 5 minutes or an hour of your lunch break just like watering crops or milking cows. This will totally hit that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then eventually, I guess we get Animal Crossing someday. So
and that's interesting because you were talking about that game that you can just play quite a bit, just like crops and all that, or kind of like Minecraft. And I've been playing a lot of this game right here, Dragon Quest Builders.
I love that game.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's so good. I've been playing it quite a bit, but I've been telling myself over and over, man, this would be so dope if I could just play it lying down in bed, like handheld modes. I don't have my Vita anymore, the Vita remote play is not ideal for me, at least. For me, it's not ideal. So Dragon Quest Builders 2, I don't know if we're going to talk about that later or not, but Dragon Quest Builders 2 was announced, and that's coming to the Switch. So that's super hype. That's going to be a game that I'm really excited.
Did they show any gameplay for that yet?
Oh, yeah. They had a live stream at the Dragon Quest Festival. The big Dragon Quest Festival. They announced a bunch of different types of Dragon Quest games. And they showed off Dragon Quest Dragon Quest Builders 2. And you can fly through the skies in a Super Mario type of cape. So that's really fun. You can go underwater, and you can have underwater areas there and swim and stuff. There's a run button now. So a lot of great additions to the game.
That's awesome. That's gonna be cool. Yeah, those kind of games would be neat. I would like to see an Animal Crossing get announced though. That'd be neat.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For that. Anyway, we had a few things we were going to talk about. A lot of news stuff, really, but a few things that were interesting. I guess we'll just talk about the Nintendo lawsuit now, because that's something that everybody is really buzzing about right now. Is this interesting lawsuit from Game Vice, I believe it is, who is who is apparently suing Nintendo over I guess the Joy-Con connectivity or the Joy-Cons in general, because they had an idea similar to it in their eyes before, even though even Evan said it looks kind of like a Game Gear.
Yeah, that's what I said too.
Yeah,
the Game Gear.
So what are you guys' thoughts on this lawsuit? I mean, is it an actual thing?
No, this is what they call patent trolling, where somebody manages to secure a patent that's similar enough to something a major company has, and they just repeatedly sue the major company to get small fractions of money. Like, this is a thing that's very common. It's like, okay, we have this thing that loosely could be considered a router, so we can sue AT&T for $2.5 million, and they'll settle out of court for $50,000, and we can do that 10 times with every telecom. I think that this is just one of those type of things.
Very good point. Yeah, very good point. I also look at it as a publicity grab. They have investors, they have people that are backing them, and this device, they're not popular on social media. Nobody knows who they are. Nobody knew what this was, and now everyone's reporting on them. Everyone's talking about them. But I will be replacing their name with bums in the future. I'm just gonna call them that bum company, because I'm not gonna give them the publicity that they want. People are showing off their Game Vice things. People are showing off the functionality of it, and I think they're trying to kind of live off the momentum, because the CEO of the company just got done praising the Switch. A couple months in. Just got done praising it, saying that it was great, that this is good for us. He said all this stuff, and now you want to say, oh, well, we're suing them because it's too similar. wait a minute, why didn't you say that back in March when the system launched? You said that 2 months afterwards.
What he meant to say is, this is the best device that's ever ripped me off. I'll see you in court.
Well, it's interesting that this lawsuit comes up after the Switch launches and after it's been a success, right?
Yeah.
That's maybe they thought when it was coming out that it'll do okay, and then they see it like selling like crazy, and they're like, well, let's get our bit of money from it. So
yeah, didn't their device, the device they're claiming ripped it off, came out in 2015 and hasn't sold like any, right?
I think it came out I think it was even before then, right? Wasn't it like 2012?
2012,
well,
was it? I thought it was more like 2014, 2015 type of deal. I mean, if it was 2012, I didn't think it was that far back.
If I remember correctly from the lawsuit, the specific one they're suing them for is their most recent model, which was 2015. Okay. But still, it's one of those things where it's like, bruh, like, check yourself.
yeah, definitely a bruh.
Yeah, their first one came out. Okay, their first one came out in 2013. That was when their first one came out. But they have had revisions since then. But there's another.
They're all ugly, by the way.
Yeah. They can all easily fit in your pocket.
Yeah.
But there is another one. Did you guys see the Morphous X300? We talked about it a little bit, Evan and I.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That one looks more like the Switch than the Game Vice's WikiPad.
Mm-hmm. I talked about that in one of my videos. Like I think it's called the iQOO X300 or Morphous X300 tablet thingy. It's similar, very similar to that. It's the Joy-Cons. You can attach it. This thing can also play on your TV. You can hook it up. You can take them off and play independently. It's very similar to the Nintendo Switch, and they're not suing Nintendo. So yeah.
I was reading about that case where Sony tried to sue Nintendo when the 3DS first came out, because apparently they had the specific patent for glasses-free 3D functionality. But the patent had some sort of weird stipulation where they were suing him because it was less popular and they thought it was copying him. And then 3DS took off, and for some reason it nulled the case. It was one of those weird times where it was like, we're suing you because you're trying to rip us off. Oh, you're bigger than us. Oh, I guess technically now we're legally ripping you off. All right, never mind. Goodbye. Goodbye.
What was that, Evan? What was that case that we saw also where the 3DS?
It was the other guy who. Yeah, it was the screen technology. Someone else, I don't even know if he was related to a company at that point. It was just a technology he created, sued them, and we found out that he won, but then Nintendo appealed, and then he lost pretty recently, actually.
Yeah, like a couple months ago, yeah.
Okay, so wait a minute. So the guy who won it, they did an appeal, and it reversed. Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah. I was reporting that they actually, or at least I told people, I was like, oh no, they, the only one that I know where Nintendo has been, got caught with one of these was that 3DS where the guy won it, but apparently it was reversed then.
It was, yeah. It took that long though, from when he won like years ago to like a few months ago, where they.
Okay, so we did get money then. So because he was ordered to pay, I guess they were ordered to pay some royalties to him. So was making that up until this point?
More than likely, yeah. From what I can tell, unless they did some hold, I don't know. The legal system has always confused me.
Yeah,
but.
There was one other case that Nintendo actually lost that I can remember, which is when the Wii first came out. I'm sure some of y'all remember there was a thing called I think the Wii Classic controller. It was like the big round pill-shaped controller. Mm-hmm. It turned out that they took there was a patent for like this certain wire configuration that they needed in order to make a controller that small. And Nintendo tried to buy the rights, and they were in the talks to get the rights to this, and they just started producing the controllers anyways. So the person who owned the rights ended up suing them. And if I remember correctly, those people won the case. I think Nintendo tried to settle with them out of court, and they just ended up just throwing it out to make sure that Nintendo just basically got deadlocked. They weren't allowed to make that controller ever again anymore.
Man, it's always interesting to watch companies sue other companies.
Yeah.
Happens quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, especially about the smallest stuff that's like, you took the wiring for this backup controller that's not selling, you jerks.
Yeah. So let's all right, let's talk about, all right. So Max, you can be quiet in this part if you need to be, because I know you're doing a review for it. If you want, we're not really gonna talk about the game itself. We're gonna talk about events. But yeah, I assume OJ, you saw that Sonic Mania was leaked.
Yeah, it's been leaked
through Best Buy.
Best Buy, the retail versions of it. So yeah, a bit unfortunate, but
yeah. And then they were. Did you see the stream and everything where they were playing it?
No, I didn't look at that. No.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like Sonic, so I was like, well,
Yeah.
because I played it at the Nintendo event, so I did play it a while ago. Man, when was that? That was back in like, oh geez, was that January in Washington D.C.? It was a while ago, but yeah, that was one of the things they had there, and I actually ended up playing it for like 15-20 minutes because there was no one in line for Sonic Mania. But I ended up playing that on the Switch for a while. And Max, can you say which version you're reviewing? Which version you're reviewing? Are you allowed to say that?
I'm not sure because I'm not sure which copies they're giving out, and I don't want to actually say something and get in trouble.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Just for people in chat who are wondering, sometimes when you're reviewing a game, they literally just don't want you to talk about it until a particular day. This is just one of those situations. Yep.
And they sent me a thing too and asked if I was going to review it. I said I was going to do gameplay, so I think they're sending me a review code on Monday just to do a gameplay on for the Switch, I think. But either way, it's gonna be interesting to see your review on it. I actually want to see how well it holds up for the amount. It's like, I think it's what is it, $20 for a digital copy? I think
$20 retail, yeah.
And then I know that the big edition was like $60 at Best Buy, but it came with a statue and a code and everything. They ended up doing a live stream that seemed kind of impromptu, where they unboxed it. They like completely unboxed it, and then they talked about it, and then they put out the opening animation because the person who live streamed it showed the opening animation. which looks really cool. They put it on their Twitter, their official Twitter page, and it looks like old school Sonic, like the cartoon. So I am like super excited for Tuesday, I think, right? Tuesday's when it comes out.
Yep.
Super excited for Sonic Mania to come out. I've been talking about it quite a bit on on the channel, so I'm ready. Are you going to be getting that too, OJ, or is that going to be one you're
Yeah, I got a code already, actually.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. I had someone help me out and got me a code, so I've played it just a tiny bit.
Very good. Yeah, we'll be playing it, and then it has like the co-op stuff. So maybe Evan and I will check that out too, and it has the competition mode. But interesting that it got leaked. I don't know. Best Buy does some weird stuff sometimes because usually those are register locked. So I would go up and try to buy. There were a couple times where I saw stuff that was out that shouldn't have been out, and it was always register locked. So I don't even know how these people got around that and were able to buy it.
I've only been in Best Buy a couple times in the last like 2 years, and every time it just looks so, I don't want to say sloppy, but unprofessional. It'll just like have a giant display that has an Xbox symbol and then just piles of Xbox games, and I can't tell how much anything is. So I can definitely see that as a company where they're just like, whatever. If you walk up to the register, everything's $12. We don't give a shit.
Best Buy, I've had my back and forth with them, but they do have a good gamers club that I'm a part of.
Yeah.
So that's really good. But the employees there at a lot of Best Buys and the people that run this whole gaming thing, a lot of them don't know what they're doing. A lot of them don't know about the deals. A lot of them don't put out stuff. A lot of them are just kind of like meh. I mean, that's not every Best Buy, but just considering Best Buy, like there's not always like a ton of Best Buys. There's usually like only like one in like every major. I mean, I live in a city with over 400,000 people, and we have one Best Buy. You know?
Oh wow.
So yeah, and they're all idiots there. So like, they're all idiots there. So you know, that just happened. I can see what you're talking about as far as the unorganized and stuff. That's kind of how my Best Buy is. They're getting a little bit better, but they're still kind of lame. So
dude, that's how my Walmart is, man.
Yeah, Walmart's pretty lame too. Yeah, Walmart's kind of lame too.
I always feel like the problem customer when I go into Walmart because I look all happy and I walk in and I'm like, hello, can I get several things from this locked case, top row? And I feel like they're just like, look, bro, I've been up for 3 days on meth. I do not want to deal with this thing.
they hate when video game people come inside there. Right? They're like, I gotta open this case. You gotta do this. I don't know what they're talking about. Like,
dude, half the time there's no one in the electronics section.
I know, seriously. There's not even anybody there. But I don't even really buy games from there anymore, just because I had a couple bad experiences with them in like Circuit City back in the day, and like Target and some other places. So now I just kind of either do online or just deal with Best Buy because they have really good deals. So I just have to deal with them, you know. I just have to put up with their stupidity.
Yeah, no, definitely, and you get it cheaper, so why not? I mean, Amazon Prime is pretty good for that too. My problem with Amazon Prime is I kind of end up sitting here waiting for that UPS truck to show up.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like 1 in 3 things I order on Amazon that I pay extra, so it'll show up on launch day. I get it like 2 or 3 days after. It's like, cool, glad I paid for that. Thanks.
Yeah, because a lot of times it gets crushed for me too. Like the box gets crushed.
Yeah, and that's the problem. Like Amazon Prime is really good, but it's $99 a year for that. Yeah. So I mean, it's awesome, because you get the 2-day shipping and all that. But sitting there really like waiting for that box all day is just kind of like, I can just like go to Best Buy and just get the same deal, and then get reward points. So
there have been a couple times where I'm like getting a review copy and they email me like, hey, like this year they told me like, okay, you're getting Resident Evil 7 a week early, and I'm like the biggest Resident Evil fanboy. So like, okay, today's the day it arrives, and I sat outside for like 4.5 hours getting sunburnt in my front yard. Like, I don't even care. I'm gonna kill so many zombies when this is done.
Nice.
That's great. Yeah, so usually I would just go to Best Buy, right? Or I guess if it's like an exclusive thing, like the Samus 3DS XL, I'm going to be getting that. And I managed to pre-order it at a GameStop, surprisingly. They were 2 of the GameStops around me were out of them already. Because that is probably one of the best looking 3DS XLs I've seen in a while. So
you said you pre-ordered it. So are they going to ship it to your house, or are you just going to go? You have to go pick it up.
I have to go there and pick it up. Yeah. So it's the one in the mall though. So it's not too like the mall is like 15 minutes away from me. So it's not far, Christiana Mall, and I'll just go there and pick it up the day it comes out, and then I'm going to open it, I guess, and then I'm just going to end up giving it away. So I'm not even going to use it much at all. But it'll be fun. I'll be picking that up. Okay, nice. So now let's talk about one of the bigger stories that we have here tonight, and this was actually something that was kind of what, controversial, I guess, over the week. Max, would you say?
Which topic?
You probably know what I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about No Man's Sky.
Oh yeah.
I feel like you put a video out that was kind of controversial.
Yeah, apparently that game still has a pretty big following. I figured I'd talk about. I have a very unique experience with No Man's Sky since I'm one of the only people in the world who got an early leaked copy and decided to review it. So I decided to talk about my experience of reviewing this game and the backlash and on the day one patch. I thought it was an interesting video. It got a lot of views. Apparently, the No Man's Sky community wanted to take me out back and shoot me in the back of the head. But other than that, it was really interesting. And now, finally, this week, we actually have multiplayer. A year after launch, they fulfilled the basic promise of the original game somewhat. Did either of y'all actually log in and try the multiplayer?
I looked at the patch notes. I didn't try it.
Are we sure it's a big community or just a very vocal small community?
Well, I mean, hundreds of people were definitely describing things they wanted to put in my mouth. But the patch is really weird. The multiplayer, people don't actually appear.
Yeah, they're orbs.
These orbs. Yeah. But it's weird is that I expected to see like a ship or something, but no, I literally was on a planet and somebody flew up and I saw them basically hitting the atmospheric loading screen. And then they came down and you just see this orb fly past at like 700 miles an hour and then clearly coming in for a landing and then get out of an invisible ship and float up to me. And it's like, cool. That was worth a year of work. Yeah, I'm glad we're here.
You can't see them edit the terrain or anything either, can you?
Nope. They still exist in their own instance. So I was kind of tempted to do a jerky move and like dig a hole and see if my orb friend got stuck, but no.
Oh, wow. Interesting. So you can just see where other players are now, but you can't interact with them.
Well, you can talk to them. I did find that cool. Me and the other guy luckily did have microphones. I ran into some other guy named like Blunts for Life, and I walked up and was like, hey there. And he was just
wait, this was on the PS4, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and okay, good.
And so we just talked and went to a space station and then like pretended to sexually harass one of the aliens and then I shut it off and deleted it again.
Sounds like an eventful night. So they have that. They also apparently have, I guess, procedurally generated missions, crashed freighters apparently to loot, and this terrain editing. And then I guess they also added like fast travel is what they were talking about. So it sounds like when I read those patch notes, those sound to me like things that you would put in a game and QA test and everything before it even comes out.
Yeah.
So the big thing you put in your video, and then you put another one out today, right, where you talked about should developers be able to lie to gamers ahead of time to, I guess, make the game sound more enticing
or obfuscate. I feel like it's important for games to be a little bit mysterious, and we have had games that lied to us in a good way, like Hellblade. This week totally lies to you. When you turn on the game, it warns you that if you die too many times, your save file is going to get deleted. That's not true. Like, people have tested it. They've died like in one spot in one fight 50 times in a row and nothing happens. But so it's interesting to kind of see a game that lied to us and it was good, and a game that lied to us like No Man's Sky and pissed off everybody and landed them in court.
Yeah, but it wasn't really, to me, I guess people were happy that it wasn't in there, the save erase, whereas
the permative,
there was this massive, like, it almost seemed like a cover-up going up to No Man's Sky about multiplayer, right? Because we were even talking about before how GameStop was putting stickers over the one-player thing on the back.
Yeah.
It seemed like everything just to get people to buy it, and then, because once you open a game, you can't return it.
Yeah.
GameStop. Of course, GameStop would have to somehow controversially get into this.
Well, yeah. GameStop's like, you guys really want to piss some people off? Get those black stickers off the top shelf. Let me show you a trick.
They had nothing to do with this game, and yet they want to somehow jump into the controversy any way possible.
Oh man, it's bad. They had stickers on them, and then of course. People were big. I mean, that game sold a ton on day one, didn't it? I remember a ton of people bought it.
Yeah.
And then it seemed like everyone bought it and didn't realize what it was going to be. Like it didn't have a lot of the stuff they talked about. There were obvious differences between like AI that you would find on the planet in their previews and then what you would actually find. Mm-hmm. Did anyone ever find that giant snake that they showed? There was all this stuff.
No, stuff like that is definitely in the game now because a lot of the No Man's Sky fans that were angrily tweeting me were tweeting me pictures of stuff like, what do you think of this animal? And one of them was actually a giant sea snake that looked awesome. So clearly it exists now a year later.
Well, there was like a giant sand snake. Did you see that back in the day? I think it was like around it came out. They were like, it's somewhere out there. And it was just, I'm talking like massive, like snake flying around in the desert super fast on the ground.
That's awesome. That makes me want to buy that game for reals.
One of the first like major gameplay, I guess, showings of Star Citizen, they showed a planet in that game that had a snake, and it felt almost like they were sort of making fun of No Man's Sky for that.
Oh no, did you bring up, wait, is that the game that is still in crowdfunding?
I think so, yeah. No, that's never going to come out of it.
No, the one that has collected over $200 million.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, and they keep saying it's going to come out. They put out these betas, and some people are even writing up full articles about how it may never come out.
Oh yeah, it's most likely never going to come out. It always feels like they're trying to future-proof it for game systems and computers 30 years down the road.
Yeah,
it's one of those just weird games. It looks amazing, but probably never just play it.
So somebody said that the game has become like a charity fund for people in their 50s who love to read sci-fi novels. It's just like a thing you put money in so you feel like you're doing something useful. Like, it'll come out.
Did you guys? Let me ask you guys this real quick. Did you see that apparently GameStop is giving away like 100 NES classics in August?
Yeah.
What is going on here?
I don't think there's. I see all these conspiracy videos that they were secretly hiding them. I don't think that's it. I think that, if anything, I think Nintendo found a couple more and they gave it to them since they know they could sell them. And and GameStop's eating the cost of 100 units so they can do a big publicity giveaway.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, really, Nintendo should have just sold them on eBay.
Yeah. Who would have stopped them? $300 a piece.
Yeah, right.
I can see why people would think like the conspiracy theories, just because if you look at like going back to like Xenoblade Chronicles, that game and how they handled that, and then out of nowhere, like they just had a bunch of copies that were somehow used, and but were $49.99 used, not brand new. Although I bought a copy from them, and there's literally nothing on it, but it was used somehow, So I can see why hiding stock or things like that. And like I said, they got a ton of them because like that game you couldn't find it. Then all of a sudden, like I forgot what point it was, like 2013 or 2012, one of those. I don't remember when. And like there was just a ton of copies. And it just became a game where you can buy it anywhere now.
Yeah. Well, if I remember correctly, GameStop got permission to print them, and the controversy with that was that they got permission to print them, but for some reason nobody ever said that they had to sell them as new, so they sold them as full price used games, which is just the most evil. I love that game. I'm like a huge Xenoblade fan. That was such an evil, shitty move.
It's very. It was scummy. I mean, it was scummy back then. When I looked at the game, I'm like, "Is this used?" Or like, the guy was like, "Yes."
He looked you right in the eye. Goes, "You're gonna believe whatever I tell you to believe."
Like, I was like, "Look, man. I'm a big Xenoblade fan, so I'm gonna buy this. But screw you." And I told them like, "Screw you guys, and you guys are scum for doing what you're doing." So, but I bought it. So
yeah.
Oh man, that's bad. That's really bad. Oh gosh. Okay, so now this was a big topic I had in mind going into the SpawnCast night. This is very interesting because I think everybody talked about this in some way, shape, or form. And it was about not even so much about the game itself, but about the idea of microtransactions. This was, of course, about Shadow of War.
Mm-hmm.
where we were talking about how microtransactions are going to be a part of the game, which is interesting because, Max, you did a whole thing on it. I talked about it a little bit in one of my news shows, but I didn't really dive into it heavily. You're familiar with the situation, OJ?
Yeah, I did a video on it as well.
Oh, okay.
So I read about it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, everybody in gaming seemed very interested in this idea where they're going to possibly start doing more of these where microtransactions show up in single player games. And there are a lot of people, some people didn't care as much. And then obviously some people were like, this could be like a slippery slope where, all of a sudden you pay $60 to then be able to pay more money into a cash shop that is, connected to their little bank account that you keep swiping your card for essentially to not play the game, right?
Yeah,
it sounds like you skip part of the game to then get the reward instantly.
The phrase I'm trying to get to catch on is pay more, play better, because that's what it feels like. Like if you actually read the fine print of this, the loot crates will give you like better swords so you have higher attack or more defense, but you can also get crates that just magically give you new orcs. Like you literally just pay money and super units for your army just show up. That specifically is what pisses me off the most, is like, okay, pre-order bonuses are going to exist and stupid loot crates for costumes. I can understand that. But something about the fact that I'm paying money to get an orc, that's something about that. I mean, J.R.R. Tolkien's going to climb out of his grave and start beating executives up.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. I don't like it because the thing that I always dislike with these type of games is that it's like it's a single player game. Right. And when you want to build up, you want to get stuff, but are they going to slow the progress as far as you earning stuff on your own in order to entice you to do this? You know what I'm saying? Like, because that's what I feel like they're going to do. Like, you're not going to be able to get progress, or they would have made the progress slower than what they would have done in order for you to spend money. Otherwise, why would you do this at all? Like, if you can earn stuff and it'd be fine at a good normal pace, why would you even have this at all? Something tells me that it's going to take a while to get certain things, and they're going to try to get those consumers out there that really want to just get it right then and there, So, I'm not a huge fan. I'm not a huge fan of it. I'll be honest.
They did that exact thing you're just describing, OJ. They did that in Dead Space 3. They had a thing where, like, when you went to the upgrade bench, you could, like, send out these drones that would get you more resources so you could upgrade your guns and stuff. But there'd be a thing where it was like, oh, they're going to be gone for 2 or 3 missions, or you could just pay $2 and they'll come back right now. Like, what the hell kind of fucking universe-breaking logic is that?
Yeah. And that's the problem when you do these microtransactions in the games. I mean, I know, for example, I don't play a ton of games with like single player games with a ton of like microtransactions because that's not a common thing. But I know like Bravely Default had them as well, but it was the most useless microtransaction system ever, like with SP drinks to where you can do your super move that you just put the game in sleep mode and you can get them. I doubt they made any money about that. But if you're going to do microtransactions in the game, it needs to be something completely irrelevant like that. I mean, if you're going to, because I just don't see how you can balance it with trying to make money and then also trying to, to have the consumers not try to go for that, because that's obviously what you want. You want them to buy it. That's what you want them to do. It's obvious you want them to buy it, but you need to put incentives in there. So that's the incentive, is something instantly, or it's going to take a long time for you to earn it normally. And that's what I'm afraid of with this game.
Okay. Yeah. Because it's, but what if so you're worried, Max, that there might be leaderboards? Is that what you're concerned about?
So that's part of it. I'm a very big competitive gamer. I always want to be the best in any game I play. So I hate the idea of, even if something where it's like, you managed to kill this many targets like Hitman did. Hitman had some really cool stuff where if you managed to take out a target in really creative ways, I hate the idea that somebody could like pay $5 and have an invisibility potion or something that really breaks the game, and then they set a leaderboard score that's way higher than anybody who's not paying the microtransactions, something that's unable to be kept up with if I don't pay. That's what really irks me the most.
But if it let's say it doesn't have leaderboards and it's just everyone has their own single player experience on their machine and that's it, would it still bother you if microtransactions were in there, if they couldn't affect the online competitive scene?
It will annoy me morally, but I'll be able to deal with it still. I feel like right now, for me, it feels like a moral wrong to be able to break a game and make it pay to win and have leaderboards bragging about being pay to win. That seems so greedy.
I can understand that. Yeah. So, okay. Well, then what do we think that game companies could do then? Because obviously development costs are going up and they're going to continue to go up as people want, 4K, 8K. They want these big blockbuster games. So companies are right now just trying to figure out ways to make money. That's why you see things like microtransactions, which the microtransactions could still make money on a game that is sold used. I think that's something else they're trying to figure out. So if a game's sold used from GameStop, they don't get any of that money. But if you fire it up and you start buying stuff in the microtransaction section, that money goes to them. So they don't care as much that it was sold used.
Yeah.
So they're trying to figure out right now. And of course, any revenue from microtransactions work 10 years from now. Let's just say somebody picks it up and maybe they want to throw $5 at it. They all of a sudden $5 shows up on a game that they long ago forgot about. And I think that's why they might be looking into this, but really companies have to figure out creative ways to get more money. It sounds crazy, but they can get more money than the initial 60 for games that cost, 100, 150, $200 million to put out.
Yeah. Well, I feel like what a lot of people are not realizing, companies are really shy about admitting their failures, but there are a lot of games now that are technically failing. Like there was a really interesting documentary that came out just a couple days ago about Tales from the Borderlands, the Telltale games. And they were talking to the director and he's like, yeah, we were super happy with our project, got great reviews. Technically, internally, it was an astronomical failure. Even though it sold millions of copies, it was considered a failure in the company's eyes. And so even while they were making it, their bosses were like, wrap it up. This sucks. Wrap it up. Just make it end right now. So they said that when they were making episode 5, they lost like 150 of their employees in a day. And so they're like, okay, cool. Well, I guess there's not going to be any animation. Like, hello, paper cutout. So I think that we're hitting a point now where games are either going to have to get more expensive or more creative with their price points.
Okay, so you're saying, you were telling me this before, you're saying if the game comes out and it's shorter, that it would be like $20 or $30. Yeah. And then if it comes out and it's longer, like if it's a game like, all right, I know Call of Duty's campaign isn't long, but there are people put, hundreds of hours in that game multiplayer throughout the year. Even a Madden, as crazy as that sounds, because people play it for so long, you're thinking like a longer RPG, a longer shooter, something like that would be like $80 instead.
Yeah, yes, I fully think that I hate to ever argue for higher prices, but I can foresee a future coming very soon where like Dragon Quest 11 is going to be $80. Call of Duty is like $50 because they can afford to sell it at a lower cost since people are going to buy a bunch of weed skins. And then you'll have a bunch of $20 and $15 stuff. Like I feel like we're seeing already the beginning of that, of games like Oceanhorn is what I consider one of the absolute best indie games this generation. You can get it on any platform digitally, even the Switch now for $15. And so it's one of the things where it's like great little 10-hour experience. You don't mind paying that much. It's $30 for Hellblade. I think that we're getting to a point where big RPGs are going to be pricier and smaller games are going to be a hell of a lot cheaper than they are now.
What's weird though is that it used to be like that. What Chrono Trigger was like $80, wasn't it, or something like that? $70, $80?
Yes, it was. I'm actually reading a book about Chrono Trigger right now, and yeah, it was $80 at launch.
Yeah, and that was back in 94. 94. Yeah. I mean, what's the inflation now? That's over $100, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like $112. I calculated it.
Yeah, it's like, well, that people gladly paid that back in the day, right? It's interesting how we've kind of right now games are cheaper than they've ever been. Isn't that weird? Like $60 sounds like a lot, but if you go back with inflation, this is the cheapest games have ever been, especially with games that are coming out from indie companies that are like $10 or $20. I mean, that is like seriously, that is like $10 back then, is even smaller than that. So it's like, man, it's so cheap now, but people still see games as very expensive right now.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, right?
Well, I think as we shift towards the $80 model, I think that the big shift that I think is going to happen is you're going to see more games that are $80 and you're going to see a lot more DLC instead of sequels and a lot more standalone DLC. Like right now what's happening with Uncharted 4. Uncharted 4 was a big game, sold millions of copies, got them a bunch of money, but they didn't get quite as much money as they wanted, and they're needing to fund Last of Us 2. So this new DLC pack is about to drop. What is it called? Lost Legacy. Yeah, and that's totally standalone. It doesn't really even connect the story. So if you just want to buy that, $40, congratulations, you can. I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of that as standalone DLC instead of like brand new follow-up games.
Yeah, we saw that. Remember, we saw that with Infamous Last Light also.
Yep.
Remember that? Yeah.
Love that game. Second Son and then Last
for the
Light.
money, it was good. Yeah, I like both of those games a lot. They were actually really fun. Good collectathon games too, if you're into those.
Yeah.
Super cheap now too, man. The Infamous Second Son is under $20, I think, at GameStop.
You can get that everywhere. I've accidentally bought like 3 copies of it because I keep seeing it on Walmart. Will put it out for like $5. I'm like, I don't know if I have this, and I buy like 2. So I keep buying it and giving it away.
Oh, sure. Yeah, why not? Right. It's a good game though. But yeah, I think you're right. You'll see games that can use the same engine, for example, you know, and less development time, right? Less money, less marketing too. I mean, Lost Legacy, while they have talked about it, you don't see any TV commercials for it. At least I haven't.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I think when it comes to zero marketing, look at the upcoming Dishonored Death of the Outsider. They're not even going to bother advertising that at all because they know that, all right, Dishonored has a very small but very loyal fan base. We don't have to make a new graphics engine. We don't really have to make anything. Just come up with new moves, new weapons, and new maps. You can just put that out there at any price point, and these same like 200,000 people will keep buying it. So they're not even going to bother putting ads on IGN when it comes to that one.
OJ is back.
Now, this is why I'm always against like always online, because my power just went out. So it just went right out and then went right back on. So I'll say I paid my PG&E bill, so I don't know what's going on here.
We got you back. We were kind of we're rolling into the middle of the conversation of I don't know if you call it that. I don't know when you dropped out. But we were talking about game development being expensive and how companies are going to start looking to maybe figure out different ways to cut down on cost, but then release a game similar. Like we're talking about Uncharted Lost Legacy is coming out. Same engine, everything like that. It's not as heavily advertised to me, $40, and it's probably a lower cost game that's going to help them do things like fun. Last of Us 2, for example. And then we were also discussing the possibility of a kind of a pricing model because people don't realize now, but games are cheaper now than they've ever been if you could use inflation going back, because we just talked about Chrono Trigger released at like 70 or 80 bucks in 94. So we're talking about like a pricing structure. And this is something, now that I think about it, that it's funny because we talked about him earlier, that Cliff Bleszinski brought up how there need to be single A, double A, and triple A games. Just in pricing structure. He kind of akin to Lawbreakers to a double A game. Is the way he talked about it. And a AAA game, I guess, would be that 60. But now we're talking about maybe a game that lasts you hundreds and hundreds of hours. Maybe they look to make that $70 or $80.
Yeah. Or imagine if this is, I'm just making this up on the spot, but imagine if there was something where like you paid $30 originally for like Skyrim, and you played through the whole main story and you could do all the side quests, but then you paid an additional like $40 and unlocked the other like 18 bajillion actual faction quests and stuff. Like I imagine that there would someday in the future be like a Skyrim style game that is $100 total, but is literally 300 hours of game.
Okay. So you're saying like they release in tiers, or like you get like a base to start with, and you decide what you want, what you don't want.
I feel like that I can for some reason see that coming up pretty soon. It just seems like we're kind of in this era where companies are trying to find new ways to monetize games. And I feel like microtransactions are working one way, but there's also a certain demographic that will never buy a microtransaction like me. So they're going to try and find new ways to repackage things.
I think DLC normally, I think that way is fine, just as long as obviously there's obviously bad DLC and good DLC. I mean, like for example, like Nintendo has found ways to monetize like Super Smash Brothers. Like the DLC in that game, there's a lot of it. There's a ton of DLC. They've probably made millions of dollars off of that DLC. You see all the tournament players using Bayonetta, so all of them got the DLC, you know? Like, so I think that way for some people is fine. I mean, you just give a good base content. Smash Brothers has like 50 characters in their standard. Then if you want to add on, you can just do that. You just have to, I think developers need to find a way to make sure that the base game is overall a better value for consumers. And then people don't have a problem paying for the DLC model. Like The Witcher was very successful, right? And they gave away free DLC and had paid DLC. So.
Yeah, Evan, you love that game.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these things we're talking about in terms of the pay structures, they've all been tried and tested, and there's even more past that. I remember, do you remember the first prototype? Apparently, the ads that were in the city were actually, if you were online, they would update to actual company ads. Yeah. And it was causing problems after that whole server thing went down if you wanted to play it again.
That's actually a clever idea.
Quake Wars Enemy Territory actually did that as well. The ad billboards in the multiplayer game could be rented out by companies, and I think the Terminator 3 movie had an ad on there somewhere.
There were even ads in games as far back. I remember like Madden, like 2007, 2008. Like they would have Snickers and they would have different ads that would go on the billboards when you're connected. I think even going back farther than that was like a game called Mark Echo's Getting Up. And that had ads for like clothing and other stuff like that in there. So
if I remember correctly, which one was it? There was a cross-platform racing game that came out at one point on the Dreamcast. It came out on the Dreamcast and I think the PlayStation 2. And if I remember correctly, there was like a race you could do. And one of the corners had a giant Sony ad, and I remember they got in trouble because they just like left it in there, like whatever, we'll just put the Sony ad there. Oh god, we actually put that in the Dreamcast version too. So when you're going around this one corner 100 miles an hour, like, is that the competition?
Yeah, but those are usually like the prepaid ads in Prototype and Quake Wars.
Yeah.
You're looking towards like companies who are like, I want to rent that ad space for a year in your game. Like that's what they were trying to aim for, which was interesting. And then I know we were talking about it in terms of like the pre-owned games and like how do they get money out of that. I remember there was probably a 2 or 3 year time frame where you would get a game and it would be a very tiny amount of the game, and then you had to buy like the game pass to get like the online and all the other functions to it. It was like a $40 price tag. And I think EA was one of the big proprietors of that, and they keep doing it and then it falls off. And I think they keep looping back around to microtransactions, and now they're probably just going to see how far they can push microtransactions before we all stop buying it and just all together. But yeah, the pricing structure changing in games, everyone's, I guess, just afraid that if you make your RPG $80, then the 200,000 people who would have bought it gets cut down to 100,000 people.
Yeah.
And then what was the point?
Yeah. I mean, I know people would not respond to that positively if they're like, okay, it's $80 now for this game.
Well, so because I'm a person who likes to read about marketing because I'm the world's biggest loser, the way they would pitch this is they would definitely treat it like every game is the super ultimate edition. They would make it where there's no standard edition. Every single one is like an $80 one that comes with a soundtrack, a picture of your ex-girlfriend, and also like an art book. It would just be the super awesome ultimate edition. That's the way they'd pitch it. Even though this extra stuff to them literally costs pennies, it's just a way to trick people into buying only $80 editions.
Is it possible that people see microtransactions and kind of compare them to like cell phone games? Do you think because they're so used to that, and then they see it start to show up in their AAA games?
Oh, yeah.
I think they kind of look at that and go, "Wait a minute, that's what's in my free-to-play cell phone game." Absolutely.
People don't like it because a lot of gamers, obviously, they don't want their cell phone microtransactions crossing over into their big AAA games or whatever the case is. I mean, and obviously, none of us want that, right? I don't think gamers, like if Nintendo was like, oh yeah, Splatoon has, these microtransactions where you can get this, and this to power up faster or level up faster. Would people be down with that? Nobody would be down with that. Like I would be like, no way. So, I mean, a lot of us don't want this stuff in there. And I think it sends problems. So, I mean, look, this Warner Bros., they're going to have to deal with it, with this whole microtransaction thing. But I think that they're definitely going to lose sales, but they're hoping that they can probably make it up on the back end to the hardcore, Lord of the Rings fans, that are probably going to go out there and buy this, do this microtransaction stuff. I mean, we've seen people spend way more money than they actually should be, like on cell phone games that are free to play. They'll spend thousands of dollars on like the free to play games.
Yeah, those actually make more than PC and console combined now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
was it Ubisoft where they had that small group of people say that they make maybe like 50 to 60% of Ubisoft's income, and all they do is make like 6 mini like
I talked to those guys.
Yeah,
the people who make all the shitty tiny pets and scales. I talked to those people and they were like, yeah, we make hundreds of millions of dollars just churning out awful licensed brand stuff back to back.
Dude, how mad does that have to make like these big AAA developers who spend so much time, and then they look over and there's like Candy Crush making like $1 million a day?
Yeah,
and that's why they're trying to do that. I mean, and even if you look at like Nintendo, like they were so high on Super Mario Run, right? And that doesn't have microtransactions. And then Fire Emblem, like, okay, well, yeah, we're trying out this, and now they're just pushing Fire Emblem. Like it's on every single ad, it's everywhere. And now they're just like, hey, go Fire Emblem, Fire Emblem.
It's actually making good money.
It is.
It's making great money. So,
I was at GameStop the other day, and they had a freaking Fire Emblem ad on the TV in there, and I was like, oh, they're coming out with the new Fire Emblem? Oh, it's that cell phone game, motherfucker.
Yeah, but it's doing well. People are talking about it. I mean, I see it so much all the time, like on the streams that I watch. A lot of kids, like high school, from what I've seen, like the whole Smash community, they're like obsessed with that game too when they go to their events and stuff, and they're buying stuff. They're playing it and they're also buying it, and Nintendo's making a lot of money off of it. So,
but that's probably the reality of how we want this future to be for gaming. They're going to have these games which you or I might not even care about, might not even play, but millions of people will play it, drop $1 on it a day, and they just make millions a day that way. Then you'll get your Smash Brothers for $60. I'll get my my Cyberpunk 2099 for $60, and I won't have to care about it. But the companies are going to have to produce just a slew of games. Not a lot of like the bigger players want to play, but enough of just the people who have a cell phone and casually want to play something. Those are the ones that are going to carry our games into the future.
There's nothing wrong with that, though. I think that's fine. You want to drop a little bit on Fire Emblem Heroes? That's cool. We're going to get our Fire Emblem. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get our big Fire Emblem, and they can then they can also do that. So I don't see that being a problem. I mean, EA does that too with all their EA makes tons of money off their mobile stuff that they do. And
but the trick is when the company then makes their AAA game also have the microtransactions.
That's the problem. See, that's what I want the clear separation between the two.
I think a big part of it is that gamers are a very empowered culture. I feel like we want to go into the game and be the hero and save the day and then put it down and move on to the next adventure. And I feel like as soon as something takes you out of that experience, even if it's just being like, hey, sorry, you can't go to that area yet since you don't have the DLC, or, oh, I'm sorry, you want to go that further? Try and just pay $2.99. I feel like it just destroys it. I feel like I wish I could just track the amount of people who quit the first time they see a microtransaction.
I'm one of those people. I mean, I'll play for a bit, but I'm just like, because like I play a lot of these games with my daughter and stuff, and like as soon as something comes up, I'm like, all right, your turn. I'm just sorry, we just go back to the other level, like I don't want to deal with it anymore. I lose my patience.
That totally is what killed For Honor for me. Like, I was enjoying For Honor a little bit. It's not a great game, but I was playing it with a buddy of mine, and we were having a great time one night. We played it for like 6 or 7 hours. We were doing duos, throwing people off cliffs, calling people salty all day long. And then all of a sudden, I was like, oh, no, I need to get this upgrade. And it seriously popped up this thing, be like, oh, you can, but you just need a little bit more steel. Swipe your credit card now. And I was like, man, screw this game. I'm so done with this.
Exactly. Killed it for a lot of people. The news of the emotes that came out that were ridiculously expensive, and then just the immediate drop of people playing that game.
95% of the total For Honor fan base has quit now.
Yeah. Wow, that's insane.
Yeah, it's on record. You can literally just see the chart where it's like, hey, we want to sell you these, how you can smile at your friends. Boom.
I think they're paying Sacriel to play the game on Twitter too, or sorry, on Twitch too. So
yeah, within a week of release, I think we saw it go up on Amazon sale for like 20% off or 30% off. They were trying to just unload because they saw the drop. It was just like, oh no, get rid of them.
Yeah. Give up to the people.
That's amazing. So yeah, but yeah, if they do DLC right, I mean, it could definitely be something to boost their revenue. But then when you get DLC that's done poorly, like you get something like I personally think you shouldn't announce DLC before the game's even out when it's stuff like or just as a great example, Marvel vs. Capcom is coming out and they've already announced like how many DLC characters you have to buy.
Yeah.
Like it's like 5 or 6. And then you have instances where like Resident Evil 5, do you remember that whole thing with the DLC where it was locked on the disc?
Yeah.
Or like a week later or something like that, a week or two later there was DLC. That was
they sold it to you and then it was a 1 meg download.
Yeah.
Well, a game company that got super blasted for was when they made what was it, Capcom, or it was Street Fighter versus Tekken, and it turned out that like another 7 characters were locked on the disc, and they were like, somebody even managed to read in the code that it was going to be like where they'd come out every 2 or 3 weeks, and so it's like you're not balancing these characters or working on this is done. You're literally selling us a third of the roster.
I have a buddy of mine who's a professional, fighting game player. He plays all the time. He plays in tournaments, Guilty Gear, and all. And he said once they did that with that Street Fighter Cross Tekken or whatever the case, that game died on the spot with the competitive community. On the spot, like literally, like overnight.
I remember, so I was researching that for a video a while back, and people were saying that. And what's funny is that for a bit there, they were actually planning, leading up to it, there was going to be Tekken X Street Fighter and then Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Like they were going to do them like 2 years apart and be like sequels that have different mechanics and stuff. And as soon as that happened, they're like, all right, cancel the project. We're moving on. Like just release the DLC. Let's get out of here.
Well, because they were also juggling Tekken 7 too, or at least trying to get get that out on arcade in Japan, and then they were also juggling what they were going to do with Pokken as well. Like they were looking at that. So I mean, Bandai Namco, they had a lot on their plate, and so yeah, they just ended up just saying skip it.
It's interesting to think about DLC that's required. I remember, I think it was Shane from Re-Res who brought this up to me one day. It was talking about DLC and how when you wall off a DLC with money and it's required, like let's say Call of Duty has a map pack that you need to play, even just to play like 80% of the like team deathmatch, everything. You can only play a few social rooms, for example. A lot of those people just don't buy the DLC and they just stop playing. And then you lose your community. So maybe they're thinking, well, we'll just give them everything, and then we'll start doing. Didn't Call of Duty start doing loot boxes now too?
I think don't they have that in this new one? They have some like type of loot boxes or something.
I remember in the new Modern Warfare Remastered, which gets blasted all the time because it's a massive cash grab. The game's like what, $40, and they say another $15 worth of DLC, and then there is microtransaction loot boxes in there, and it's. It came out so long ago, like on the 360, and they're redoing it.
Yeah, you know, it's tough because as far as that goes, as far as can players play on a certain map, but that I know, just to give an example, like Smash Brothers, for example, you can play on maps. Like if your friend has the map and you want to play against them, you can play on there, or if you're on Fort Glory, you can play on the Super Mario Maker level, you know, even if you don't have the Super Mario Maker map. So I mean, it's just tough how the developers do that. I mean, because how else do you get them to buy it? But I think going forward, that might be the best way. Is just like, okay, well, maybe, you know, you can't play on the map most of the time, but sometimes you might be able to get in there, because it sucks. Like, you know, if there's a map pack and you have to buy it in order for you to go there. Whereas, like, you know, in other games, like I said, Smash Brothers, you can play on Super Mario Maker level if your friend has it and you don't. You know, if they pick it, you can play there. So
Halo 3 did a thing, and this was like early DLC days, and it was an experiment, but I guess it must not have worked out well because nobody else did it. But they had a thing where you could pay for DLC, and it would make it where you got a multiplayer map a full month early. And so basically all the competitive people would buy it and play on it and love it, and then it'd be free a month later and everybody would go on it. So therefore the maps would still be heavily populated, and then they'd start using that money to work on the next map. And so they kept trickling out this treadmill of content. And I guess that experiment wasn't super successful because Halo 4 and 5 certainly didn't do that.
Halo 4. Yeah. I mean, Halo 5 was bad on its own, really, because they got rid of everything that made Halo fun to me, anyway.
Yeah, well, the loot crate. So, what's interesting about Halo 5 is I reviewed that game, and before that game came out, like technically officially released, we were able to play it. We were even able to play it online against each other. But what's interesting is that we didn't see the price tags on any of the microtransactions. They came out with a day one patch after reviews came out that made it where it actually make microtransactions in the game. Up to that point, you just got loot crates randomly for free. It makes me think, I'm kind of curious just on the subject of Shadow of War. I'm just because I don't trust WB Games at all. I wonder if they're going to do a thing like that where they send out review copies, but nobody will be able to report on how much are microtransactions. What exactly do microtransactions do? It'll just
that was the other thing I brought up was what is like the transfer amount? Like what's the currency difference there? Like what does $5 get you in? I think it was gold was that you buy, because there's like also Miriam, I think, is the other one.
Miriam is the in-game.
Yeah. How much does $5 get you in gold? Is it like 1,000 gold, and does that get you like 2 crates or? That's what I'm curious about, is how much money do you have to spend to not do anything in that game? Can I spend like $60 for the game and then $60 to not do anything in that game?
Yeah, to coast. It makes when you start at mission 1, you're just like in a tank, like hello.
Yeah, I can see somebody just swiping their card, just never going out into the world until they're ultra powerful. Well, and there's nothing to do.
People rag on Kotaku a lot, but Kotaku, anytime a game comes out with microtransactions, they always release a video that says, "We bought $100 so you don't have to." And I remember, what game was it? I think it was Assassin's Creed. I think it was Assassin's Creed 3 or 4, or it was Unity. Unity had a bunch of microtransactions. They bought like $100 in loot boxes, and they were just running around the town like throwing invisibility, smoke pellets, and using grapple hooks and stuff. And they were just like God, just like flying around like shitty 16th century Batman. It was just like, okay, cool. So I can spend $100 for like 30 minutes of really baller fun.
Yeah, I stopped playing Assassin's Creed a while ago. So,
oh man, did you guys? Here's actually a pretty funny topic. I saw this pop up. This was on was this Gaming Bolt? I think they did comparison of exclusive games. Remember how we've talked about the Xbox One at length for their what I think is their struggles right now with that system, Microsoft that is. I think they're having a really hard time, and I don't know how it's going to get any better with the Xbox One X. Even Michael Pachter agrees with me, which is weird because we never agree on anything. But they did a quick Gaming Bolt, checked out the exclusives from the Xbox One and the Nintendo Switch, and apparently in the Switch's first, up till December, how many months is that? That's like 9 months. Apparently it's going to have more exclusives than the Xbox One did in the past 2 years.
Yikes.
Wow.
Which is a little worrying. Yeah, they did. And here's the thing. I went through the exclusives they talk about. Almost every game that's on the list, actually every game that's on the list for Xbox One is also on the PC.
Yeah. Well, I've heard some Xbox. I randomly went on this like Xbox One fanboy forum because I was kind of curious what they were talking about right now and what they think of this whole situation. And what's really odd is that a lot of them kind of think that Microsoft needs to hurry up and come out with their sequel console. They need to have an Xbox One 2 in the next like year or so, which just seems crazy because obviously Dreamcast tried that, and they were so far ahead of the curve, they ended up kind of screwing themselves. We ended up getting like ported Nintendo 64 games on a system the power of a PS2.
Yeah, I put the link to that article, guys, in the chat for anyone who's watching who wants to take a look at it. I can put it in the chat for you guys too, but I put it in the community chat over there. Yeah, I've dropped it in the chat also. Go ahead, OJ. I'm sorry, I just wanted to let everyone know I dropped it in there.
Oh no. It's interesting because I don't understand Xbox, like hardcore Xbox, because I don't understand what they're bragging about. Because I hear people complain. People ask me like, "Oh, what do you think of Crap Gamer? Or what do you think of these guys that are hardcore Xbox?" And I'm like, I don't have any opinion on them. Like, they don't have any exclusives for me to be like, okay, well, I like that game or I don't like it. So I have zero opinion. I don't care. I mean, I think they're fine. I've seen some of the videos, whatever. But with Sony, there's actually content, for people to be fanboys about, But I don't see that with Microsoft. Now, I love the Xbox 360 because Xbox 360 had exclusives. It had a lot of exclusives, a ton of exclusives.
Good ones. BioShock was one of the best games I played that generation, and I played it on 360 because that's where it was.
Absolutely. And they had stuff like Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon, even early in the life of the system, just throughout the life, just great games.
Mass Effect started as an experimental Xbox 360 project.
Yes, Mass Effect.
Crazy to think of that now, but for a long time you could only play Mass Effect 1 on the 360.
It wasn't until way later, till Mass Effect 1 came out on the PS3, and even Mass Effect 2 started out as an exclusive on and I think it came out a year later on the PS3.
I think Mass Effect 2, I think you needed for the PS3 version, didn't you need the trilogy? Isn't that where you got it in?
Yeah. Which is super rare.
No, it came out individually.
Oh, did
Mass Effect 2?
I'm talking about one. We're talking about one. I'm sorry.
Mass Effect 2 and 3, Mass Effect 1, you had to buy it only in the trilogy, but the PS3 had a weird thing where you could basically play through a comic book for your save file.
The Dark Horse comic book, and that's why I don't understand about Microsoft, fans, people you're fans of just third-party games. I mean, that's just you're fans of that you could be playing better and more efficiently and cheaper on a PC. So that's why I don't understand where they're bragging about or why they're arguing. What is there to argue about? It's just a bunch of third-party games. I mean, that you can play on a lot of different places. Like I said, I understand Sony fans because Sony gets everything. Plus, they get great exclusives. But I don't understand where this is coming from.
Well, here's the one thing that the one thing they have still that is exclusive is Halo. It's not on PC.
And Gears. The Gears community is still thriving.
Yeah, Gears is on PC though.
Gears on PC,
It is 99% of the people are only playing it on console though. That's just one of those weird games where people could play it on PC, but it seems like the people who are into it just don't want to for whatever reason.
Sure. But you'll get a better experience on the PC right now. Maybe not when the X comes out. Maybe you get a better experience there, but it's interesting because they're waiting for the next system. Microsoft is I think they're still just going about this all wrong. They really just need to put the money in the games. Go buy, rights to games, studios, anything at this point.
Yeah.
Is the Xbox One X really taking up that much of their resources that they can't go do that?
I would think so, yeah.
I feel like once Sea of Thieves comes out, is immediately forgotten, just like I predicted because I'm a vulture, then I think that they're really going to start to see the writing on the wall of being like, oh, wow, we put so much money into this press. They've flown out so many hundreds of YouTubers at this point to play Sea of Thieves. And I still don't think
I'm still here. I've actually said I want to play that game.
I still think there's just such a small install base that it's just going to bomb. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be the writing on the wall for them. Okay, we need a lot more exclusives and we need them yesterday.
Well, I think there was just issues with what they planned this generation. Obviously, Fable hasn't turned out the way that they wanted it to. Then it was canceled. Then Scalebound once again canceled. And I think at that point, a lot of people just said, screw it. A lot of people just what does Microsoft offer me that that I can't get somewhere else? And PC gaming is becoming more and more common as well. Steam, it's cheaper. People are always trying to look for ways to save money. I mean, you can get a nice PC you can build your own and get one for $700 that plays everything, or $600 that plays everything, at an efficient level.
You don't pay the online fee.
Exactly. You don't pay the online fee. You'll get the summer deals on Steam. I mean, you don't have to buy stuff day one. You can wait and get a bunch of Steam's games cheaper because, I mean, if you're an adult, you have work, family, whatever the case is. So some people don't even have the time to go out, rush out there and buy games day one and all that, which Microsoft benefited from as far as having that exclusivity with Mass Effect and all that. People that just want to rush out, get the system, get the game day one. I also think the Red Ring of Death, people bought multiple Xboxes. That also helped pad their stats a bit. And it's just, it hasn't worked out for them this generation. And I still look at my Xbox and I mean, I have one, but I use it for Twitch. I use it for streaming. I mean, I've collected all the achievements on Twitch on my Xbox One.
I didn't even know Twitch had achievements.
It does. Funny. It does. And I've got all of them. That is. It's got achievements, man, and I've got every single one.
The only game I played on my Xbox One right now is the Halo Anniversary Collection, and I think Halo 3 is backwards compatible now or soon.
Yeah, they all every Halo is now backwards compatible.
Yeah, because the Anniversary Collection is still kind of broken. So
yeah, Master Chief. I've messed with my Xbox a little bit. Sadly, the only time I really use my Xbox anymore is if I'm asking to review a game and they say, "Oh man, every single millions one of the people they all asked for PS4. Do you have an Xbox One?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's me the Xbox One." Like I reviewed Mass Effect. I reviewed Mass Effect on Xbox One just because I couldn't on PS4.
I mean, maybe when the X comes out, some people would rather review on that. Maybe it'll be a little more even then. That's for reviewers, not for consumers. I'd say
normal people are not going to pick that up.
Now, here's the scary thing, because this is something we see every week with Media Creates. Did OJ, you saw the Media Create from this past week, right?
I did. I saw Media Create and Famitsu.
Did you see the Xbox One sales?
Yeah, was it in the double digits?
It was they sold 90.
90. There we go. Yeah, 90 Xboxes.
That's actually down from last week. The week before they sold 94.
Yeah. Well, Japan's not, Japan obviously.
But the difference though, if you look at the difference between that, the Xbox One, and then the PS4 or the Switch, you can go with either one because they're both selling pretty well right now in Japan. Dragon Quest XI's out, and the Switch is just impossible to get. You can go by either chart, but the Switch was in the somewhere in the 60,000s this past week. And then Xbox has 90. That is such a massive difference that will just build over time that realistically the Switch probably will pass the Xbox One in a couple of years. Mm-hmm. Just even from that difference on its own.
Yeah, that difference is big, especially when Nintendo actually starts rolling out more. The third parties in Japan start rolling out more of their games. Like Dragon Quest comes out on there, and other titles are starting to pop up. Obviously, Pokemon is going to be big. Shin Megami Tensei is going to be big. When Yokai Watch eventually comes over, that's going to be big. So yeah, eventually it's going to.
I'm saying like 3-4 years down the road, but
down the road, yeah. I mean, it just depends, right? I mean, it depends on how long Nintendo's going to push it, and how long Microsoft. I mean, we'll see. But I see what you're saying. Like, yeah, with that gap by itself between like getting 60 to 70,000 units more sold each week, eventually, and then keeping par in America and in Europe.
Oh, well, here's the other problem. The Xbox One is now being outsold on its home turf by both the other systems.
Yeah, I was just saying, just thinking, let's just, even if they just stayed on par, then Japan was just above it. Obviously, it's going to catch it. But yeah, I think the Switch is obviously going to sell more and maybe in America it'll continue selling more. I don't know about Europe. I think Europe is really Sony territory.
Yes, it is.
But the Switch is doing well though in Europe. It's not doing horrible. Like France is really good for them. There's a couple areas that are really good. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but I mean, I don't know if does Microsoft care too much. I don't know if does Microsoft even care.
No, because Microsoft right now they want to sell is an operating system. Yeah, that's what they want to sell. That's it. They could. And once Windows 10 moved over to the Xbox One, I was like, okay, that makes sense because they want to sell you on an operating system, and that's it. Because they can count every operating system as a member of their Windows Store. Because if you have Windows 10 and you look down at your taskbar, you have the Windows Store pre-installed, so you are automatically a customer that they can technically count. Mm-hmm. Which is very interesting when they talk to investors.
I have Windows 10 on my PC, so I mean, So I mean, I see what you're saying, and that's why I'm saying I don't know if they absolutely 100% like care too much because they do so much. Gaming is such a small. It's like a little dot.
It's like a hobby.
It's 100%. So the Xbox division has never really been profitable to them ever. It's always been their pet project. So even if they keep bleeding hundreds of millions or billions of dollars a year, they can absolutely eat that cost. That's just such a small piece of the overall Microsoft pie.
Yeah, but how long do you kind of tick at the investors until it turns into like, you know, a massive, you know, I don't know, you'd say just like a massive gash in their operations.
I'm sure they have some genius spin for it of being like, by being this extra brand, we're increasing brand awareness, and it could just be one of those things where everybody's getting so many billions of dollars out of that company, where they're like, oh, and we're also losing $1 billion a year over here. People are just like, a billion, oh no.
Exactly. They can pitch it like, just like you guys both said, it's about brand awareness. Xbox by itself is just, let's just not talk about the valuable, like the money, but the live service, all that is profitable because they have a base of people.
So a lot of people,
they have people. So that's all you need is you need people, and you can sell investors on that. This is what we're doing with our operating system. We need this because this brings in people that normally wouldn't have been here. We can charge them for certain things. We can get them into PCs, you know, as far as like what we're doing. So that's all they really need. So that's why I don't think it's going to be too bad of a problem unless it becomes to the point to where it's seriously like bleeding money to the point to where nobody, you know, and it's not growing. Like it's sales.
They actually lost members of their Xbox Live. I think it was like 3 million.
Okay,
over the last financial report, it went down. It went from 55, I think, to 52.
I would say, like, to me, it would have to be like investors would start taking notice. It'd have to be like a complete, like a Wii U type of situation, to where you're only selling like, you know, 4 million a year or something like that, and investors can clearly see that this thing is, there's not people on there. Then that's when maybe there might be like the jig's up. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, it's gonna be, you know, what's gonna be really interesting is if they ever turn off the 360 access to Xbox Live, because I have a strong feeling that cuts like 30 million people off.
Yeah.
I have a very strong feeling that many people make up the Xbox Live community right now.
You mean in terms of just numbers that they can report, or actually people playing? Which one do you mean?
People paying. I do think the Xbox 360, based on my time in retail stores and everything, when I work behind the counter, a lot of people still own 360s, like a lot. And they still
play, connect them. Okay.
Yeah, they would come in and ask things like, can I still play Call of Duty online? Yeah, actually, any of the Call of Duty games work online. And apparently, Black Ops 2, for the longest time before it became backwards compatible, was always sold out. That game jumped to like from like $15 to $30 when it went backwards compatible, because so many people want to play it. And I don't think they'll cut the they'll cut the 360 servers down, because I believe the Xbox One backwards compatibility can play with those 360 users. So they at least found a reason for that to stick around. But are they really going to support the 360, you know, 3 generations from now? That's really the thing.
Yeah. Well, it's, in a weird way, they're kind of putting themselves out on a ledge at this point. They're keep hoping that this next brick is going to appear, but they keep getting closer to the edge, and it's going to be, they need to get some exclusives or announce something console-wise that gets interest again. They need to do something that's going to shock and shake things up, or they're going to go right off that cliff when they start sawing away at the Xbox 360.
Here's the other interesting thing. Sony could technically do exactly what Microsoft did and cut down the Xbox One X. The Xbox One X could have like 6 good months, right, of being the strongest system. And let's say next E3, Sony does what Microsoft did and just says, hey, you know, PS5 is coming next holiday. Not this holiday, the next holiday. All of a sudden, because think about it, everyone right now is just talking about how the Xbox One X is very powerful. They've been talking about it since, what, last E3? About how it's stronger than the PS4, even though it's not tangible. So the PS4 Pro, while it is right now the strongest system on the market, has looked weak because we know something else is coming. So what if they do that to the Xbox One X? And they're like, it's going to have 12 teraflops of power, and it will be powered by Vega.
Well, and what's crazy is, let's be honest, the Sony dedication right now across the market is so strong. They could literally just show a black screen and like the blue startup line and just be like, PS5, and people would be like, you won. Like, they don't even need to like say numbers or anything. It would kill the Xbox One X.
I just don't feel it's a good idea right at this point, just because Sony, there's just so much momentum with the PlayStation 4. They sell so much of it in Europe. It's doing so well in Europe. Like, sometimes it outsells the US, you know, and as far as sales go. And to me, that there's no reason. The developers just stop crying about the power, you know, and saying, "Oh, we don't have this." And just make games. Just keep on making your games, and you'll make your money. So I just don't see why Sony needs to really do it. They have their PS4 Pro. A lot of developers aren't even fully taking advantage of that. So I mean, just continue doing PS4 for, you know, for however much, you know, many years, and then release it when when you feel like you need to release it. There's no need, in my opinion, for them to jump out and announce this.
What if Microsoft jumps out, because all of their games are going to be compatible from what they're saying for a while? Like, even the ones that come out will be backwards. Like, let's say the next Xbox, what do you say, Max? Xbox One, 2, or the Xbox 12?
Xbox 2. Yeah, well, the internal. So I've heard some internal leaks, and the actual name they were talking about internally right now is the Xbox 2. I wish I was joking, but yeah, we're getting a 2 next.
Sure. Okay. All right then. Well, if they do that and they say all your Xbox One games are backwards compatible straight up, I mean that's not that. I don't think that'd be that much of a problem. But there's a lot of stuff right now that's saying that Microsoft is actually almost done the next Xbox already, like beyond the X.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt, based on how more the companies are kind of going towards PC and more off of that than like doing like a cell architecture, or something like that, So
I think they were waiting for Vega. I think that was the big thing, and Vega's out now. Well, it's at least been announced to the point where it'll be out in a week or two or something like that. Not even. So I think they were waiting for that, and they need AMD to build an SoC for it, or maybe they already were. But it's going to be interesting. I don't know. This whole power thing is interesting. People will argue about power of a system rather than games on the system, which is interesting because then you're technically arguing about benchmarking PCs, which means we're not talking about game consoles anymore.
Well, I think part of that talk is just peacocking, not even for the gamers, but for the game developers. We're definitely in an age where there are so many independent studios that are just looking for a place to put their projects, and it does kind of appeal to them sometimes. Like, ooh, I've got this sexy new thing called the Xbox 2. And, that could get some appeal. I don't know. It's a strange thing. Somebody in chat earlier was saying that the longer they stick with the PS4, it could actually solve our pricing problem for us, because as the games get older, and the hardware gets older, game development will be cheaper, astronomically so. Yep. So it's one of those things where it's like we could keep $60 games a lot longer if we stuck with the PS4 longer.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I turn my PS4 Pro on and I play it, and I'm like, these games look fine to me. I still play on 1080p. I know there's people at 4K who are like, oh, it's checkerboard upscaling. I don't know how easily you can tell the difference, but all right. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot more they can do with the PS4 Pro based on what developers are even doing with the Switch, which isn't as powerful, obviously. So I don't know. I look at that and I go, well, you could probably get more out of the PS4 Pro,
I just think that developers need to just think about new ways to make games better instead of worrying about, here's this power, there's this thing that we need to do. I mean, there's games that people are still discovering at this point. Like I said, Dragon Quest Builders, it's 1.1 gigabyte. It's literally almost like a Switch game or something, or like Wii U, where you put it in and it just automatically starts up because the install time is so low. But there's so many cool things in that game that Minecraft doesn't do, and as far as what it brings to the table. So I think developers really need to just think about that and then go forward, with their games. I mean, I think like Hellblade does some cool things as well. It does some really cool things, something that's different. So I think they need to just focus on that instead of worrying about power and all, because they have all the power on PC, right? And like there's unlimited power on PC.
Vega got announced with I think 11 or 12 teraflops.
Yeah, and even with stuff that's out right now, like a Titan or other graphics cards, there's a bunch of power there. Like, is that inherently so much better than what consoles are doing? I wouldn't say so, outside of just frame rates or resolution.
Well, you're also going to see PC gamers start to get a little frustrated with consoles as well, because as much as they might not want to admit it, the consoles really move developers along for PC games as well.
Yeah.
They really do. Like, as game consoles evolve, even if they're weaker now, they will help to push in, more features, better graphics, everything that will also be transferable to PC gamers. So that's one of the reasons you get a lot of people who get a little frustrated with, like, when the 360 was around for as long as it was. I think a lot of PC gamers felt that old system was really holding back their experiences.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, and we still see it. Like this week, they randomly announced that they're having to delay Sonic Mania on PC for 3 weeks.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I 100% think it's that they were trying so hard to QA it on the Switch, the PlayStation 4, and the Xbox One. It took so long to fix all those bugs. They're like, oh, and we got to do PC. We just cannot do it. These games are all done. Reviewers have those. We're just going to have to bump it 3 weeks.
I think they figure it's probably going to sell really well on the Switch. And maybe, I don't know. That game, I look at it and I think I'd rather play it on a handheld. I think that game will sell well there, and it'll probably sell well on Steam, maybe PS4. I don't know. There's a lot of games around it right now on the PS4. Mm-hmm. Do you think it'll sell okay on the Xbox One?
No, I don't think it will.
No. I think it will. The people who are playing it are going to buy it. So, I mean, there's definitely going to be maybe a couple thousand, 20,000, 30,000 copies sold, which is definitely worth their time putting on there. But I don't think it'll sell PS4 numbers.
No, okay, yeah.
I think it's worth putting on there just because, I mean, I guess if you have a PS4 version, you have a PC version, why not an Xbox One version? I just don't think, from what we've seen, from what indie developers have been saying about certain games, we just haven't really seen the Xbox community kind of gravitate towards those experiences. So I don't really see them buying Sonic at all. Sonic games have always historically just sold better on Nintendo or PlayStation, and even going back to PS3 and Xbox 360 and
well, this is also one of those games that's going to look the same on all the systems, including the Switch. Like it's going to look the same on all of them. And you look at the Switch, and you're like, well, it has portability factor, so I guess I'll just get it there.
Yeah.
I mean, usually people look at it and say, well, what's the resolution on the Switch and frame rate versus the other ones, and that's how they decide. Well, there's no real difference. So I don't know. I look at it and I go, well, I might as well get on the Switch and get more for my $20.
Mm-hmm. Definitely play it with headphones. Good music. Play with headphones.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Absolutely fantastic music. You need some somewhat solid headphones, not earbuds, but headphones. Good headphones, guys.
Did you see they're talking more about Sonic Forces after Sonic Mania comes out? So we'll find out more about that.
I haven't seen any details. I have seen them randomly just posting songs from Sonic Forces.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, what a weird. I mean, I never would have expected marketing like that to work, but I'll be goddamned if there ain't people already doing covers of them.
But it's going to be so they're going to have more information, which makes sense because they want people to focus on Mania right now. Same reason that the Xenoverse 2 developers were talking about how, pay attention to one on the Switch, then we might talk about fighters at some point. Same deal. They just want you to buy what's in front of you. Mm-hmm. And that makes sense to me. So let's see. What other this is something I was thinking about too. What other games are coming out this Christmas time for the different systems? I know the Switch has quite a few. I feel like the PS4 and the Xbox One are going to look for more like third-party games, if I'm thinking right. Because I know the PS4 had kind of a quiet summer they had Crash, and then they had Hellblade, but no big like AAA game. And it looks like they're maybe looking more towards like third-party. I was realizing this too. Are there any big first-party games coming out for Sony this Christmas?
Just Uncharted, right?
Well, Uncharted is coming out in a couple weeks here. Hold on, I'm looking at my giant cheat sheet. I actually keep a list of like every major game of the year so I can see which ones I want to review. Let's see here. I swear I saw some stuff come up in November. Let's see here. We do have Star Wars Sims, of course, which is super legit. We do have that Horizon Frozen Wilds DLC, which is going to be a killer. Dragon's Dogma, third party. Yeah, it is a lot of crazy, cool third-party stuff, but
that's what I thought. Yeah,
not a ton. But that's something people have talked about a lot recently. Oh, we are having Gran Turismo. We're just in a weird age now where like Sony is not stepping up and making games like they used to.
Well, they put out all of their games in the first half of the year. That's what I noticed. Like that's what Sony's been doing. They'll put out all of their games in the first few months or their exclusives that they have, and then they kind of just leave the rest of the year for the third-party developers. I think even next year, like all their games at Sony's press conference, all of them were like 2018, like Spider-Man, the biker stealth game, Days Gone.
Days Gone, yeah.
Like all those games are all like early 20, like the Shadow of the Colossus remaster, God of War. All those games are all early 2018, and then they just kind of leave it for third parties, and that's how they work together. Because I mean, Sony obviously makes a lot of royalties off of the third party. Because like a lot of the third-party games all sell on, like they sell easily the most on PlayStation because of the install base. So
yeah, well, I mean, and that is very much a smart move on their part because a lot of that stuff comes out, gets great reviews, sits there for a minute, and then we come into the summer drought, as they call it, and then all those games spike in sales astronomically again. So they kind of get like two big sales throughout the year.
Mm-hmm. Horizon's been doing. I mean, they got a price drop to 40, and people started picking it up back again. So that's good.
It's so good. I bought a physical copy of it. Like I got a digital code when I played it originally, and now I bought a physical copy just because I love that game so much. I got to have it on my shelf. I gave it a 10 out of 10. It's so good.
It's a good game. It is a good game. Yeah, it's going to be interesting when the DLC comes out for that.
I bought it again because Best Buy had a killer sale on it, and with the Best Buy Gamers Club, it was just like amazing with their Cyber Monday deal. And it's just still sitting on my shelf. I need to open it and play it some more. I need to play because I bought it when it originally came out, but then Zelda and all this stuff came, and then I was like, okay, I got to do this.
Do you guys have do you guys have the PS4 Pro?
I don't. No,
I don't. I just have a regular PS4.
Oh yeah, because that game, if I put it in my Pro, it actually has a super sample mode to where it will actually take a checkerboarded 4K and actually shrink it down to 1080p. So it actually has that built in, which is really cool because that's something they came out with a new update. Well, it's coming out eventually. The PS4 5.0 firmware update, and it doesn't have super sampling, and the Xbox One X will. And it was a little weird to me that they didn't even include that. I think their big update is like Twitch at 60 frames. Which I don't think anyone really uses the native app for that because they'd rather stream through their computers so they can put, all their banners and all this stuff on there.
Yeah.
I don't. That seemed like a big miss on their part with their firmware, but I was hoping for super sampling. And by the way, it looks really cool when you super sample in Horizon Zero Dawn from like 1800p or whatever it is, and you scale it down to 1080p. It has like this very soft touch around all the curved edges, and it looks really good. So I was hoping they would get into that more, but they didn't.
I want to do it. I've heard if you get Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice on a PS4 Pro, apparently there's just a lot of extra subtle environmental details. Like this one guy was talking about that when you play it on a PS4 Pro, you'll occasionally see these like weird glints on objects, and you think it's just like a mild hallucination. As you get closer, you see that they're like it's literally millions of tiny eyes. Like you're literally hallucinating millions of tiny eyes watching you on stuff. It's like, cool. I'm glad I have a PS4 Pro for nightmares.
That's a cool little touch though, to add something like that in though.
Yeah, well, and it's something that it's so genius because you wouldn't consciously see it, but unconsciously it would just put you on edge. Like, I feel like I'm being watched horribly.
So let me talk to you guys real quick about Monster Hunter. You played the demo, didn't you, OJ?
I've been playing a ton of it. I think I've done like four videos already on Monster Hunter, like little mini series.
I did my best to play it, but I wasn't very good at it. I didn't really know what I was doing either. So
I suck too, but I'm getting better. Like you let people to give you tips, and then people want to watch it, like say, "Hey, give you tips," because that game is so deep. It's like ridiculously deep with like strategy, and like I'm learning. My fans and my users, they're telling me how to play, so I'm getting better each time. So it's a lot of fun.
Did you play it, Max, at all?
No, I've been very busy with other reviews, unfortunately, so I haven't even installed it.
Oh, okay. Do you have a Japanese eShop?
No, somebody showed me how to set it up, so I'll do it. I'll be honest, I'm probably not going to get to it. I do hope they localize it though. I've been watching some stuff on it, and it looks freaking awesome. It's
interesting just to see how it looks on the Switch is the big thing.
You're too busy getting tied up and getting shot at, right, Max?
Yeah, exactly. It's a hard job. It's somebody's.
I was like, Max is having it kind of rough.
His Twitter, he was having it rough on Twitter, man.
Yeah, he's getting bodied on Twitter, getting bodied in real life. People are just coming after you, Max. You're doing good, dude.
It's true. I do it all for the views. It's fine.
Yeah. All the views and the phone calls.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. As long as that sub number keeps going up and I get to sleep at night, we're good. There
you go. Good stuff. Do we want to take some topics from the crowd here that are watching at 572? So what it says on my end watching right now. You can take any questions from the. I forgot about that. Somebody mentioned right away. I saw that earlier. You guys saw that Capcom left that Nintendo licensed by Nintendo in the Legacy Collection.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's awesome. That was hilarious when I saw that.
Capcom being Capcom.
Yep. That's Capcom. All I have to say.
That's all you have to say is just Capcom being Cap. That's just Capcom. Like they're just they remind me of just like that goofy ass company or like that. Like a played on football team or a basketball team. There's always that one goofy dude that kind of knows what he's doing in the sport, but it just makes these weird mistakes. And like that's like Capcom. They're so goofy. They're just a goofy company.
Oh man!
Did y'all watch the hilarious Artifact video of the guy in the crowd?
I didn't watch that yet. No, everyone keeps talking about it.
It's so good. So basically, it's like this official, like, we're going to show a new game by Valve, and everyone's in the crowd, and everyone's like on the edge of their seat, like this is going to be the best thing
Half-Life
ever.
3.
And it shows these like 3 shapes show up, and it says Artifact, the Dota card game, and you hear this crowd of like the most hardcore people go, like everybody was thousands of people are like, this sucks. And what's funny is there's a reply to that video where someone says, actually, if you're in a room full of people, booing and cheering can sound the same. And the guy who posted the video replied and said, bitch, I got evidence. Like, I filmed it. Like, you can't. Like,
so people thought they were going to hit with like this epic like Half-Life 3 announcement. And then they get
because
like,
the symbol, and they were really playing it up as like, this is going to be it. So, like, this is the new game. And then it comes out and it just says the card game. And then these like really cringy guys came on screen like, hey guys, we're professional esports commentators. We're going to tell you about this great card game. It's like, look at this. It's going to prove your gamer skills. And everybody in the crowd laughed at them. Like,
I hate to say it, Steam might be one of the worst things that happened to Valve from a creative standpoint. Because they just don't have to do anything. They just get so much money.
Yeah, well, there was that leaked report. It was like an internal memo basically calculating that if they started releasing too many big budget games, it might actually piss people off and make them not want to use Steam. So it's basically like they're in a place now where they're afraid to make big games because if people leave Steam, then they stop buying everything.
There's just no point. Like for them, there's just like they're so busy with their just handling this massive thing that's called Steam. Gabe Newell's worth $4.1 billion. The dude, the company is just low. There's just no point in them doing anything. They just sit back and they just collect their millions, billions, whatever each time. Like it's just so much. I think the money is just like when you have that much money coming in, what you're not thinking about, let's create another game to make money. Like when you have literally that much, when your owner is worth $4 billion, like he's worth $4 billion. Like, what are you thinking about? You're not thinking about making games. You're thinking about how do we control this? Where do we hide all this money? Yeah. Like, where do we put all this money? Like, it's literally like Scrooge McDuck, like at Steam. So it's like, why make a game? You know, in their eyes, probably that's what they're thinking.
Scrooge McDuck is a massive lie. Like if he dives into his. Have you ever tried to dive into a vault full of pennies?
I saw it on Family Guy though, where Peter tried to dive into.
It's not a liquid. It's many tiny solids.
Oh, that's great.
There was this is still on the subject of Valve. The guy who was the head writer of Half-Life 2 left the company not too long ago. And he was writing the script for Half-Life 3, and he did like this really in-depth interview. And it was really interesting because they were asking him, was it going to be this or was it going to be this? And he told them real honestly, like, Half-Life 3 isn't made. There isn't a story yet. Like, you can't ask me what the story would have been. Like, they're like, the way Valve does stuff is we come up with a cool gameplay mechanic, and then we kind of run in front of it and build the hallways and then, like, write the story around it. Like, everything is glued together at once while they're making it. So it's like, we never really wrote a script or anything. So anybody who tries to leak and act like we did, we didn't. Like apparently Half-Life 3 was way farther from even the first step that we ever would have imagined.
Yeah, that's a shame too. I feel like that fan base has just been like tortured long enough.
Yeah.
Like just give them what they want. Give them Half-Life 3. They would live with a logo right now and you could tell them it's not coming out for 4 years and they'd be happy.
Yeah,
I don't think it's just not coming based on, like I said, maybe the success of Steam is just too big. Unless they can easily make another, they can contract it out. They can get someone else to do it. They don't got to do it themselves.
If we get it, I guarantee it'll be a VR exclusive. It'll be something where you have to get the HTC or the Oculus, and the whole game is just going to be Half-Life VR.
That would be interesting.
Fans might. If that's what they're going to get, if that's what they said, hey, this is the only way you're going to get it, I think fans would probably be like, all right, we'll take it.
So what's interesting is I bet you Valve could go to either one of them and say, would you like to fund us making Half-Life 3 exclusively on your goggles, your VR headset? Mm-hmm. They would probably do it.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, HTC and Oculus aren't like super. I mean, obviously, especially because Oculus has that Facebook money. I'm sure they'd be like, we'll do it.
That's the one thing Facebook is really good at is writing checks.
Yeah. And maybe running for president, depending on Mark Zuckerberg's creepy whims.
He's way too weird, man. That dude is way too weird to run for president. Like, he is a complete weird. I saw an interview with him. He was like wearing a sweater and profusely sweating. It was a couple of years ago. Was like profusely sweating in this interview. I'm like, what is this? What is this guy doing?
I randomly found out that Mark Zuckerberg, the last Saturday of each month, he'll actually do a cookout live stream on his personal Facebook that you can just watch. And it's just weird to watch the one of the richest guys in the world. And he just has this super shitty webcam and it just looks really grainy. And he's got we're smoking some meat. And he'll be like, oh, chat's being really pleasant. And it's like, dude, are you hiding bodies? What do you
It looked like he was hiding bodies after that interview where he was sweating, he's looking around like something's going on.
Opens up the grill. There's a hand. He's like, dude, that's pretty good. Oh no.
Those were the last people that opposed me and tried to make something else to Facebook.
Yeah.
Keep trying to sue me, okay? Keep trying to sue me.
Oh, somebody else brought that up. Did you guys see Dave's tweet, Super Metal Dave's tweet the other day?
I saw a couple. They were all cryptic.
Well, the last one he put up was August 10th. It's pinned right now at the top of his Twitter page. So what he's going to do is whenever his next video goes out, it's supposed to be around one of the announcements or something that's coming up. And then he's going to do a stream right away because apparently I guess it's big enough to do a stream right away too and answer questions and talk about it. But apparently he's saying that his part 2 of 3, which is coming soon apparently, I'm thinking it's going to be this month, is apparently going to stir up controversy. He says it might stir up controversy in I guess the Nintendo community.
Controversy in the Nintendo community? No way. Never. That's never happening. Don't know what you're talking about.
But this tells me, the announcement gets harder and harder to figure out, obviously.
Then I wonder if that's going to be positive or negative. It makes me think maybe that it's going to be that his secret project is that Super Mario Odyssey is getting delayed or something. Because if it's anything but good news, I could understand that'll have some controversy. Laura Kate Dale, when she was talking about Rabbids really early, everybody was saying, you liar, you liar. Even though she had seen it and even watched parts of it before anybody else in the world, people called her a liar until the day that showed up.
I thought about that too. Maybe he's talking about a crossover, like how the Rabbids and Mario crossed over. Maybe it's another crossover with another one of their franchises.
Is that worth all of the crypticness and the live stream and all that?
OJ, it's totally worth it if it's going to be Mario cross Halo.
Yeah.
Blow up the internet.
I understand, but it is. I can understand, but I don't think necessarily even with Mario plus Rabbids, when I finally saw the game and people were telling me about it, it wasn't controversial to me. Even from the very beginning, it wasn't controversial. It's just another game. You know what I'm saying? It's just another game. It's not anything doing something with the hardware. That could be controversial, hardware messing with that.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
That's controversial, but just another game that they're paying for. That to me, the Mario plus Rabbids controversy was stupid because all these people were doing were just bashing this person more for other things outside of Mario plus Rabbids, obviously because Laura Kate Dale's trans. So I think it was also people piling on top of her for that as well. But to me, it was just dude, it's just another game. If it comes up, it's just a rumor about a game. It wasn't that super controversial to me.
It was also controversial when the first piece of that internal memo leaked and it said goals, make people not find Princess Peach Rabbit ugly. It was what is this?
Dude, maybe they bring over, maybe GTA 5 goes to the Switch and they have Mario as a playable character.
Oh.
Have you seen that Mario mod? Would it be like that Mario mod?
That's so good. Yeah, I love that. Well, and Mario looks slightly stretchy in that. It's just oh god, bone.
That'd be great.
I don't find unless you do something super controversial with the game, unless it becomes like a Wind Waker type of thing where people really hated that. Unless you do something like that or a Devil May Cry, I don't really see games just coming out that aren't related to the business and microtransactions. I don't see those controversial because it's just another game that comes out.
So we're thinking it has to be something to do outside of games like hardware. That's what always comes back to. That's what everyone's talking about, some kind of hardware piece, whether it is, and the most controversial thing I could think of personally is if they released a home console alongside their Switch, because their Switch is supposed to be the portable and the home console, right? And then now people are like, well, what's going on over here? What's this? I thought this was a portable. No, wait, now it's I thought it was a home console. No, wait, now it's their portable, and this is their home console.
That would be ridiculously controversial. That would cause some riots.
The only way I could ever see that sort of being spun positively if it was if they were here's the home console and also it's gonna have a brand new Zelda or something. I feel like that's the only way that they could sort of soften
the way I was thinking was, what if your Switch games work in either one and the home console is just more powerful unit for your TV that
that would lighten the blow.
Frames and everything.
That would lighten the blow. If it was a completely different one where these games are like only some work and not all of them, and it was more expensive, that would cause big problems. But if every single game worked, people would still be pissed because it's the internet. So people would still be upset. Like, people would still be mad about it. But it wouldn't be as bad as them doing like, you know. I mean, we saw many videos of people saying, what if the Xbox One X only plays Xbox One exclusives? Heck, Ghost Robo hit over 1 million views on why you should be worried about the Xbox One X, saying that and using that as fuel to say, okay, well, this could only play Xbox One X games that won't be able to play your backwards compatibility. So you should be worried. And, you know, and like I said, millions of people, tons of people made videos of making tons of money off of that. So, I mean, that would be the thing that I would think that would be super controversial if Nintendo did something like that. You know?
That would be interesting, though.
Somebody's saying 4DS. I'll be honest, that'll piss me off if they're like, yep, we're keeping the 3DS line alive. We're just going to keep making up letters and number combinations. 3DS XL.
But that's the thing, though. I just feel like the Switch could slowly take the 3DS's place, you know, just slowly over time without anyone even noticing. And then you get this home console, but your games work between either one.
Like I said, if it works between either one, I don't think that's not as much of a problem. If they work between either one, if you want to get that one, the home console, then that's fine. You get it. If you want to get the Switch, you get the Switch. You want to get both of them, that's fine. Giving consumers more options, I don't see that as too much of a problem, only if there was, like I said, exclusives. But if you can play either one, I mean, that'd be kind of cool, I guess. But like I said, I don't know how some people be like, oh, well, I wasted my money on this system, you know, beforehand. So it would definitely cause some controversy.
But I wouldn't feel like I wasted my money on it because it's portable. I like the portable aspect, but it'd be really cool to have that. It'd be cool to have that home console feel too, where it's more powerful. Like, what if it was as powerful as just the base PS4 and it was like $250? I guess it would have to be the same. It'd have to be $300 because that'd be the same price as the portable unit.
Yeah. Well, that was sort of say is what I could see ruffling from some feathers if what they called like the Switch Home, the SWOM, is like $200, and it literally is just like the box. You put cartridges in the top, and then you have a controller. Like if it undercuts the price of the normal Switch, I could see that as causing some serious uproar.
It's like the Vita. I guess you could say it's like the Vita TV. Kind of, you know. But, Vita TV had the exact same hardware. They'd probably want to beef it up a little bit.
Yeah, they would want to beef it up a bit. They would. I mean, because it's already, you can play it like a home console already. You know, you could just plop it in that dock. It could never move, and you'd be fine. So yeah, they would have to beef up the hardware. But who would they go with? What would be the insides of it? You know.
Well, we did hear about, again, this is all leaks, rumors, all that stuff. The Foxconn leak goes back to some kind of NVIDIA GPU that seemed comparable to a 1060, which in a console space, that would actually be a 4K resolution machine then, and that would probably be $350 to $400 then. That could have also been dev kits for the home console version, because I originally thought that was just the dev kit for the Switch, but then we see the dev kits for the Switch come out, and they're like $400 or something. They're $500. They're super cheap, and it looks very similar to the Switch. It's just like, I think it's all blacked out or something like that for the dev version.
Yeah.
So then, what was the other thing that they saw? I don't know. That's the thing. It could be that home console that we maybe are all speculating about.
It could be that supplemental computing device. Could be the home console. Could be something. I don't know. Nintendo's, like I said, they're kind of Batmans at times. They're crazy. They can do all sorts of stuff. So who knows? But obviously, like Dave's hearing something. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. You know, it's an exciting time with Nintendo these days.
It's just hard to believe that they would be willing to let like their home console, their to merge everything into one SKU so they only sell one system. That seems weird for them. I don't know.
It does, but a narrowing of focus is kind of what that company needs right now. Is I feel like Nintendo, especially in the Wii generation, they were throwing out so much paint with like, here's a heart rate sensor and here's your motion control, but here's Wii Motion Control Plus. But unfortunately, it's no longer compatible with this. It's just like, I feel like they've been trying to tighten it up more and more and more, and this may just be the final screw tightening where it's like, look, it's the Switch. You want to buy a Nintendo game? Every single thing comes on this one device.
They need it generally though.
Yeah, they generally are a conservative company. Like, they're very conservative compared to others. They have a lot of liquid cash right now, like a lot. So
yeah, they can afford. I did the calculation. They can afford to lose $500 million a year for the next 50 years.
Yeah.
So I think the focus is good, though. I think this is probably the most focused we've seen Nintendo in a while, right? When their games are coming out, you just get the game and you just put the cartridge in there. It just works. You just play it. You know what I'm saying? They have their 3DS teams, the Fire Emblem dudes, finally making it back to home consoles again. the Bravely Default team, Silicon Studio, they made 3DS games. They're making a Nintendo Switch game. So a lot of these 3DS developers are finally moving over to the Switch that we've seen, whether it's internally with Nintendo or outside of Nintendo. Level 5 is saying, hey, we're going to be making some stuff for the Switch. The Pokemon company is like, all right, we're finally going to make it. We're making it. So to me, that's focus. That's better for them. But like I said, if these cartridges can be played on either one, then I don't really think it hurts the overall proposition of what the Switch can do, because it's both. It's that home console and it's a portable. People like to underestimate portability, especially here in the US. People like to underestimate portability, but it's a very big thing for a lot of people, So,
it's very big in Japan, definitely.
It's massive. I mean, that's a lot of people just play it portably, just like might be the majority of the way that people play it in Japan is probably portable.
I mean, consider the roof that the Switch could be looking at in Japan it could be that 22 million for the 3DS. There could eventually be 20 million Switches sold just in Japan.
Absolutely.
Which is crazy to think about. You definitely see that with the hype is massive there for that system. So, which, by the way, I talked to you a little bit, OJ. There, apparently, there's these rumors going around that next week's Media Create is going to surprise some people from Nintendo.
Yeah, you told me about that, and I was like, really? That's interesting. So I kind of looked into it a little bit more, like you told me about, and yeah, that's what people are saying. It seems like Nintendo's getting some more restocks, which we've seen in the past 3 weeks, right? We've seen the numbers go up to about 100,000, then it kind of dipped back to 60,000. So, if Nintendo can stay above that, in that area or stay above it, that's definitely good.
It's very interesting. And then the MPDs will be out this week coming up.
Okay.
For the United States, I think it's out. Oh geez, Thursday maybe. I'm trying to remember. It's sometime this week. They'll be releasing it. Private investors and people who get private reports for websites like embargoed ones already have the reports, so they already know who came in which place and everything. The only way we'll get any, more information is if somebody from any of the big three come out on Monday and say we sold the most this month or something like that. The system was the best selling in the United States this month. So, and then also do games, this game was the best selling. So it'll be interesting to see where everybody placed, I think, especially because that was the Nintendo Splatoon 2 month. So it'll be interesting to see where it ended.
I'm guessing Sony, Nintendo, then Microsoft. I'm guessing in that order.
Okay.
Guess, though,
Okay. Yeah, it depends. It depends on, I guess, with PlayStation 4's their stock. I mean, there's a lot of stock where I am, so I don't think that's an issue.
There's tons of stock, but whenever I go to the stores, I always see like someone walking out. I mean, I never really see Switches much. They're usually always gone or people are buying them. But I always see at least one or two people looking at PlayStation and buying a PlayStation 4, most of the time. So I mean, I think it's steady. The sales are always steady, like with PlayStation 4.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they're going to hit that 100 million mark, man. They might.
If they continue to drive it, yeah. Like if they put out this PS5, which I don't think that they should. If they put that out prematurely, then they might not. But if they just continue to roll with PS4, then yeah, they can hit it.
They definitely will. So what's weird is the amount of people I talked to. I was talking about like console generations a couple weeks ago in a video, and I got so many tweets of people telling me that they've literally bought a PlayStation 4 for the first time in the last 2 months. Hundreds and hundreds of people told me. And so obviously that's a small sampling, but it makes me think that even now a huge portion of people are just now jumping on this console generation.
Absolutely. Every single day. Every single day, people go out there and say, I'm going to buy a PlayStation 4. Every day, you probably have, 60, 70 people per store or something like that in some of the bigger areas. All the stores, selling PlayStation 4s every time. It's that popular of a system. It has all the third parties. It has all the Japanese. It has all the indies. It has tons of indie games. It has literally almost everything. It has great exclusives that people like. So, yeah, the sales are always going to be very steady for the PlayStation 4. So.
Yeah, somebody asked if Fallout 4 would go to the Switch if Skyrim does well. I honestly, Fallout 4 barely runs on the PS4. Yeah, so no.
Yeah, I doubt they're going to take the time to make that work on the Nintendo Switch. Well, maybe if Skyrim did astronomically well, maybe if it did like millions upon millions, maybe, but I just don't think it will. So.
Yeah, that engine has a hard time running just like on its own.
Yeah, so. And that's what I was going to say is the amount of people who really, really reamed into Fallout 4 barely running already. You put that thing on a Switch, it would just be chugging.
Yeah, they would have a hard time in general just because of the way that engine's built. It's not the most streamlined engine out there.
Yeah, definitely not for power efficiency. I'll tell you that. They'd have to almost remake it from the ground up. I would think it would have to be
Doom.
Like a game.
Doom is interesting. That would run on the Switch, yes.
Yeah,
that would Doom
run on the Switch. Because doesn't that run? They have
that
Doom.
runs Vulkan.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Vulkan,
Vulkan. And I know there's like a Doom. There's a Doom 3 on the NVIDIA Shield tablets that runs perfect.
Oh yeah,
on the
yeah,
NVIDIA
no,
Shield tablets. Like,
but
and looks great.
The newer Doom runs perfect on a Vulkan. Oh my gosh, you can run it on so many low powered machines, no problem. So yeah, it could run on the Switch, absolutely. They could definitely make that work, especially since it does have that native Vulkan support in the background. NVIDIA apparently did a lot of work on the APIs and stuff for this system, so it'd be interesting. I think people would be surprised at what the Switch can run as they get more into the generation.
Yeah, as they figured out. That's something I did a video on a couple days ago that got a lot of traffic and got a lot of people talking, and I learned a lot in the process of making it. As I was talking about like how much of a jump we're going to see overall in Switch's power. Like, are we going to see, because developers, as they figure stuff out in a console generation, they get better and better at it. And so I theorized how much better the graphics are going to get. And people were telling me a lot. I ended up learning a lot about the architecture of the Switch, and it scales pretty well.
Yeah, but Crysis runs on it, so yeah. Absolutely. Like Crysis 3, they had a whole closed, I think it was like a closed demo at a convention, and they had Crysis 3 running on the Tegra. So it'll run fine. Yeah, 1080p even. They didn't have to knock down resolution or anything, so they could do it.
If I randomly disappear, I'm just warning you, I can hear a humongous thunderstorm outside. If I randomly disappear, I live in a very old house, and occasionally the power just stops existing.
We're actually going to be finishing up soon anyway. So
okay,
we're finishing the next couple minutes. And then somebody asked about Kingdom Hearts. I'm going to say I have no idea why Kingdom Hearts is on the Xbox One and not the Switch. Like, I don't know how that came about, where they just were like, put it on the Xbox One and not the Switch. I don't know. Maybe they were already in development, and they were like, well, the Xbox One and the PS4 are so similar, just move it over. But if that was the case, it'd be on the PC also. So
there's no PC version right now either. So.
Yeah, weird decisions there. I will say that, because I don't want to group the entire Xbox One fan base in, because I know there are people who like RPGs on that system. I don't know how well Kingdom Hearts is going to sell on the Xbox One. One, they're not marketing it for that system at all. Most people thought it was like off of the Xbox One because they accidentally took the logo down at one point on their website, but it was never down. And it's I don't know. I feel like Kingdom Hearts would do better on the Switch, but they just don't have any plans right now from what they're saying. Kingdom Hearts on the Xbox One, man, just seems weird.
It does. It definitely. I think Square is very much just trying to cast the widest net they can right now, and so I understand. If we could spend an extra $1 million of development cost of a $50 or $100 million project, it's totally worth that $1 million to change some button prompts, redo QA, and recode it a little bit.
Absolutely. Whereas with the Switch, they probably have to fine-tune a few more things. I mean, it runs Unreal Engine 4, so it can be done. But they probably have to fine-tune a few more things here and there. But the earning potential would be astronomically greater than the Xbox.
Yeah. Did you see that Disgaea 5 sold better on the Switch than it did on the PS4?
I didn't see that comparison, but I did see. Didn't it? What is it? 250,000 units or something crazy?
100,000. So it's selling at a faster rate, and it's full price. The PS4 version, I don't know the full sales of it, but just like I said, this is just loose VG chart, so you don't know if it's 100% accurate. It's at about 350,000 on PS4. So 100,000 to 350. Obviously,
it's selling rapidly.
Selling a lot faster than the PlayStation. And the thing about it is it's like America and Europe that are buying it. Then Japan isn't into it as much as we are here.
Isn't that weird? It's so odd.
I think there's so many types of those games like Disgaea. I think they're kind of just like, Japan's like, okay, enough of this. Whereas people in America are like, hey, we'll take it, It
may not just be their flavor of art either. Like, I was looking at Boogie2988, the big YouTuber. He was someone was asking him, like, well, what have you been playing most during your recovery from your surgery? And he posted a picture of him laying in bed playing Disgaea on the Switch, being like, yep, like, as long as I'm here, let's play a 100-hour in-depth RPG.
Yeah, that game almost, I don't want to say that it has too much content, but it might. Like, it's like astronomical, especially if they just throw everything in there on the Switch version. Like, they give you everything. It can break the game, so you got to be careful.
Okay, I see it here. They actually, I see it here. This was actually yesterday. This was from I think the N1 themselves. That's what it says. Did you see this? I saw this originally on NeoGAF, then I linked to it at their actual site. It was in Japanese, and then it was translated and everything. But you're right. So the Switch version is right now, they were kind of vague about it. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of 100,000 to 150,000 for Disgaea 5. and then the PS4 version in the same amount of time at a lower price sold at 112,000.
Wow.
Yeah, so it seems that they're making more money on the Switch version right now.
Oh, absolutely, because it's full priced. The 59.
It's full price. So you got to realize stuff like that is so great for them because it's like we already made the game, we already recouped our original cost. At this point, it is 100% profit for.
I think it's opening up some of the developers' eyes to the Switch's potential there for third-party games, which is interesting because the Wii U was not a third-party machine. But the Switch, strangely, is selling a lot of indie games. Indie developers are like full on running at the Switch right now. We already talked about this. All these messages on Twitter keep going up announcing games left and right, and I love indie games a lot. So it's really cool to see Super Meat Boy randomly gets announced. Although I already own that game like 3 different ways. So
yep.
I probably won't buy it again, but it's a fun game if you never played it. And it's like, oh look, now it's on the Switch. So
yeah, I got it free on PlayStation 4 a couple of years ago. It's good shit.
Oh yeah, I mean it's aggravating. People are going to break their systems, but it's a fun game. So I think that's it though for tonight. We hit our 2-hour mark. I think we're good. Let's go around here and do a quick outro. Max, where can they find you, man?
YouTube.com/Dreamcast guy. I just did a cool top 10 about the best villains. And now I'm working on my Sonic Mania review for next week. So be sure to subscribe and stay tuned. Early Tuesday, you should see my final impressions on that game.
Yes, that'll be cool. OJ, where can they find you, man?
Yeah, just YouTube Player Essence. You can find me. I do Japanese gaming. I do single player games. I like RPGs of all sorts. So if you're into that type of stuff, you can check it out. I've started to incorporate a little bit more like hidden gems and top 5s. I just did a top 5 confirmed games, or at least just my own list of top 5 confirmed games coming to Nintendo Switch. I've got a new video that I'm working on as far as Mario games go, as far as top lists. So yeah, definitely a lot of cool stuff there. Do some Japanese Let's Plays of games like Dragon Quest Heroes I've done, and also Monster Hunter. So if you're into all that, check out my channel, subscribe if you can.
Very cool. And then Evan, where can they find you? I know you're doing your art channel, and then you have a
I'll just post that name on Twitter. Would be anything for news for either my art channel or my gaming channel, or you can just keep watching Spawn Wave. I'll be doing videos here occasionally, editing. We'll do our little 2-man group type stuff that we pull off occasionally. So
yeah, it's fun to do. We play games, so it's a good time. Cool. All right, I guess that's it for tonight. Yeah, Philip was busy with personal stuff. He'll be back next week, is what he was saying. So he's out and about taking care of stuff. But other than that, guys, thanks for joining us for SpawnCast tonight. We're here every Saturday night, 9 o'clock Eastern, and we will see you guys next Saturday.